was arrested by Border Patrol for illegally entering the United States. And of course, the Biden administration released him into the country. 5 months later, February 26, 2024, Mr. Gonzalez is charged with assault. 2 weeks later, March 11, 2024, he's charged with felony motor vehicle theft, stole a car. And on March 20th, 2024, 9 days later, he's arrested by the Denver police and placed.
What's up, guys? This is opening statements. I guess that's what we call it.
6 days later, March 22nd, 2024, ICE sends a detainer notice to the Denver Justice Center saying this: if you're going to release Mr. Gonzalez, can you give us a heads up? Can you let us know maybe 48 hours before you're going to release this guy so we can come apprehend him there at the jail? And remember, a detainer is a final order of removal from a court where this individual or this individual's committed some removable offense. But on February 28th, 2025, Abraham Gonzalez is released to the streets. In fact, we can put that up. I think you can see this release.
Of course, they're just going to talk about like crimes that undocumented immigrants committed instead of talk about what Pam Bondi did.
Justice Center, we have that too. Violent to the staff, keep separate. So this guy was so bad, you had to keep him away from other inmates. He'd already assaulted some staff member. But
this is the opening statement too, just going right at it.
Over to ICE agents who would have come to the jail and arrested him there. And of course, we all know what happens. When the officers did apprehend Mr. Gonzalez out on the street, he assaulted one of the officers. This is what happens when you have a sanctuary jurisdiction. Right now,
I forgot Pam Bondi will have, she'll have her note cards where she'll just try and smear everybody who pushes her. I forgot about that. I don't know what it has to do with Pam Bondi. It's just what they do. This is the Republican Party is in shambles. They just literally have "we hate immigrants," and that's all they can do now.
Since President Trump's been in office, over 17,000 times a detainer was filed, and those individuals were released to the streets instead of turned over to federal law enforcement. 17,864 times. Illegals who've been charged with the crime have been released to the streets, and thereby jeopardizing the safety of the public, the safety of law enforcement, and of course the migrant themselves. And frankly, helping create the environment that results in the tragic deaths like we saw with Miss Good and Mr. Pretti. A few years ago, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said this in response to the State of the Union address. She said, "The divide in America today is normal versus crazy." And it's true.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea what he's doing. I don't know how we're kicking off a hearing this way for Pam Bondi. This is bizarre.
One phone call, federal law enforcement will come to the jail and pick them up. The mindset that says it's okay to release these guys is the same left-wing mindset that thinks it's okay to weaponize government against your political opponents. And that is exactly what we had in the previous justice.
Just this morning, or I guess yesterday, a grand jury refused to indict the 6 members of Congress who did that video saying that you shouldn't disobey unlawful, or you shouldn't obey unlawful orders. And we're going to talk about weaponization. Got it.
Censor Americans, and the Biden-Harris Justice Department launched not one, but 2 investigations into President Trump.
Jesus, I don't even care. Now it's about Trump. Yeah, I think you're right. They're told not to talk about Epstein. They're going to do everything but talk about Epstein. I don't care about Jim Jordan's opening statement. I want to show you guys this, actually. Remember Becca Balint? She'll be here today. And this was like her preparation. This is how she felt going into the hearing today.
I've tried to shoot a video now probably a dozen times trying to tell you about what I saw in the Epstein files. And honestly, it's just so depraved and it's sick and it's not a cabal. It's so much bigger than a cabal. It is a vast network of rich and powerful people believing they can do whatever they want to girls and women. And I just want to do right by the survivors. When I go before Pam Bondi tomorrow in Judiciary, I want to do right by those survivors. And that's weighing on me because they've been so ill-treated for so long. And we have a responsibility to show up for them with everything we've got. With everything we've got.
I mean, the difference between that and this is alarming. Republicans are like, we are not going to talk about the victims today. Today, we are going to talk about a bunch of other shit.
Of course, they arrested narco-terrorist Nicolas Maduro, and they seized a record number of drugs flowing into this country.
Oh, Tom, you dumb bitch. I gave you 5 minutes to send in a message. I'll block you again today. I'll block you every day. You absolute fucking coward. You had 5 minutes to message Jen. You didn't do it. That's why you got blocked. You can come back another day. Mute Tom today. We're not doing debates today, Tom. You can come back tomorrow.
Trump Justice Department put an end to targeting Americans for their beliefs.
Jerry said a guy in
General
open
Bondi
defiance of a congressional subpoena as chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Nothing to see here.
Rescinded Attorney General Garland's anti-parent memorandum. Department of Justice ended the practices of using the FACE Act to target pro-life Americans. They've refused to tolerate attacks on places of worship and investigations of traditional Catholics that we saw in the previous administration. On her first day, Attorney General Bondi disbanded the Foreign Influence Task Force that was pressuring social media companies to censor Americans. And the Trump Justice Department has ended lawfare. Under Attorney General Bondi, along with Director Patel, they've worked to expose the political nature of Arctic Frost and the Jack Smith investigations.
Oh, wait, while Tom's crying, saying he was blocked yesterday, Tom, you weren't blocked, you were muted. Here's all the messages that got muted yesterday while we were waiting for you to message Jen. So don't lie to people. Don't show up today and whine. These are all your messages while you were not blocked because you could still send them. Your messages were just muted.
They've turned over hundreds of pages of documents to Congress, and that's why we know, for example, that Mr. Smith paid at least $20,000 to some confidential human source. That's why we know that Jack Smith knew it was unconstitutional to seek to toll records from members. But since the litigation risk was low, and because members would never find out about the subpoena until years later, they charged ahead and violated the Constitution. The Trump Justice Department has changed DOJ policy to require prosecutors to tell judges
Ben's still crying about the
videos
phone
relate
records.
to
My God.
members of the separate and equal branch of government, the Congress.
Yeah,
And to top it all off,
it was
the Trump
unconstitutional, but it was legal. Yeah, exactly.
Justice
This
Department
guy.
opened an investigation into the conspiracy
How far in are we?
You've got the best
All right,
lawyer's
there's
job in
Raskin.
America.
in the first year on the job, and I want to thank you for being here. With that, I would yield to the ranking member for an opening statement.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman, and welcome Attorney General Bondi. You've got the best lawyer's job in America because your mission is justice and your clients are the American people. But to promote justice for the people, you've got to listen to the victims, like the women seated behind you today. Those are just some of the hundreds of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's global sex trafficking ring who are demanding that the truth be told and are demanding accountability for the abusers who trafficked and raped them. You still haven't met with these survivors. So with their permission, let me introduce to you the survivors and late survivors' family members who are present today. There's Teresa Helm.
Just a reminder to everybody just joining, not a peep about any of these victims from Jim Jordan, who also covered up sexual abuse at his last job. It's kind of what he does.
There's Jess Michaels, Laura Bloom McGee, Danny Bensky, Liz Stein, Marina Lacerda, Sky and Amanda Roberts, who are the family of the late Virginia Giuffre, Charlene Rouchard, and Lisa Phillips. Now, you're not showing a lot of interest in the victims, Madam Attorney General, whether it's Epstein's human trafficking ring or the homicidal governmental violence against citizens in Minneapolis. As Attorney General, you're siding with the perpetrators and you're ignoring the victims. That will be your legacy unless you act quickly to change course. You're running a massive Epstein cover-up right out of the Department of Justice. You've been ordered by subpoena and by Congress to turn over 6 million documents, photographs, and videos in the Epstein files, but you've turned over only 3 million. You say you're not turning over the other 3 million because they're somehow duplicative, but we know that there are actual memos of victim statements in there, and you also took down the Department of Justice's prosecution memo from 2019. So it's clearly not all duplicative, but even if it were, why not release it? Just release all the duplicative stuff. In the half you did produce, You redacted the names of abusers, enablers, accomplices, and co-conspirators, apparently to spare them embarrassment and disgrace, which is the exact opposite of what the law ordered you to do. Even worse, you shockingly failed to redact many of the victims' names, which is what you were ordered to do by Congress. Some of the victims had come forward publicly, but many had not. Many had kept their torment private, even from family and friends. But you published their names, their identities, their images on thousands of pages for the world to see. So you ignored the law, and even with over 100,000 employees at your disposal, you acted with some mixture of staggering incompetence, cold indifference, and jaded cruelty towards more than 1,000 victims raped, abused, and trafficked. This performance screams cover-up. Convicted sex trafficker and groomer Ghislaine Maxwell opened the gates of hell to Virginia Giuffre and hundreds of other victims, as Virginia recorded in her remarkable book, Nobody's Girl. But when Maxwell was subpoenaed to come testify before Congress, you and Todd Blanche quickly moved her from a higher security prison to a minimum security camp in Texas, where she's enjoyed 5-star treatment, including catered meals, private gym time, and access to a therapy puppy. All because Todd Blanche, who's utterly failed to investigate the monstrous crimes of Epstein and Maxwell's co-conspirators, spent 9 hours with Maxwell and satisfied himself that she would have nothing untoward to say about Donald Trump, which is your only real interest in the matter, based on institutional performance. But abandoning victims and coddling perpetrators is what you do best. When the FBI opened a criminal investigation into the brutal killing in Minneapolis of Renee Good, a poet and 37-year-old mother of 3, by Trump's masked paramilitary ICE agents, you shut it down. You claim you're investigating the cold-blooded murder of Alex Pretti, an ICU nurse at the VA. But how can we trust the administration when the president and Kristi Noem called Pretti a domestic terrorist and Stephen Miller called him a would-be assassin? Not only do you refuse to share evidence with the state and local investigators and prosecutors in Minnesota, you have blocked their access to the crime scene and the evidence. How are you seeking justice for Marimar Martinez, the Montessori school teacher in Chicago who was shot 5 times by a Border Patrol agent who bragged about it on text? Or the family of Keith Porter, a father of 2 shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent in LA? Or the family of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, shot and killed in Illinois minutes after he dropped his kids off at school.
5 minutes, Casey.
There's no
except for opening
sign
statements
of any movement at the Department of Justice. You even launched a criminal investigation into Renee Good's grieving widow. How sick is that?
Is Nadler asleep?
But it's even worse. You've turned the People's Department of Justice into Trump's instrument of revenge. Trump orders up prosecutions like pizza, and you deliver every time. He tells you to go after James Comey, Letitia James, Lisa Cook, and
Thanks,
Jerome
Rory and Phil.
Powell,
Appreciate it.
the head of the Federal Reserve Board, and members of Congress like Adam Schiff, Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Chrissy Houlihan, Jason Crow, Chris DeLuzio, and Maggie Goodlander, to name a few, and you snap to it. You replace real prosecutors with counterfeit stooges who robotically do the president's bidding. Nothing in American history comes close to this complete corruption of the justice function and contamination of federal law enforcement. And the good news is many serious lawyers at DOJ, including some of your own original appointees, have refused your lawless orders. Danielle Sassoon, your original pick for acting U.S. Attorney in Manhattan, resigned rather than follow your corrupt order to quash an indictment against Mayor Eric Adams as a political favor from Donald Trump. A Federalist Society member who clerked for Justice Scalia, U.S. Attorney Sassoon refused to participate in this blatantly corrupt scheme.
I don't appreciate all of you talking about packing bowls this morning when you know that that I'm not on that this month. This is devastating. That's all I want to do. I might lose today. This might be the end of it, having to watch this.
Her top assistant, Hagen Scotton, an Iraqi war vet and 2-time Bronze Star recipient who clerked for Chief Justice Roberts, and then Judge Kavanaugh, promptly resigned too, writing to your office, quote, I expect you will eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion, but it was never going to be me. You and the president nominated Eric Siebert, a 15-year career prosecutor, to be your U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. But after 5 months of investigating Letitia James and James Comey, he found no evidence to justify criminal charges. So you forced him out. You replaced him with Lindsay Halligan, Trump's personal...
Thank you guys for the support also. There's a deep divide in this chat. Those who are like, you got this, and everybody else is like, just do it. Give in.
Lawyer from the Mar-a-Lago documents case who had zero prosecutorial experience and no qualifications. And then you were humiliated when a federal judge found that this corrupt appointment was blatantly unlawful and threw out Halligan's indictments entirely. And grand juries of American citizens have repeatedly rejected your vendettas and baseless indictments brought by the hacks left at DOJ now, with 2 different grand juries in Virginia voting down indictments against Letitia James in a single week. And just yesterday, another grand jury shut down your vendetta factory by rejecting indictments against the 6 members of Congress who had spoken out to remind all service members that they have a duty to refuse illegal orders. You tried to get a grand jury to indict 6 members of Congress who are veterans of our armed forces on charges of seditious conspiracy simply for exercising their First Amendment rights. I hope you will heed the wisdom and the constitutional patriotism of those grand jurors and not try it again by doubling down on that humiliation. As your best lawyers are sacked for having participated in the January 6th case or just flee for the exits now, your new lawyers keep lying in court. In dozens of cases, they've been excoriated for lying to federal judges. Chief Judge Boasberg, right...
Hey, Dem are dumb. Shh. Relax. Deep breaths. Fucking relax, dude. It's too early for this shit. It's 8:30 in the morning. Sun's not even all the way out here yet. Can you fucking relax? We're all trying to watch a hearing.
Here in D.C. suggested your Department of Justice perpetrated a fraud on the court. Other judges found your statements to be, quote, inexplicably misleading, patently incredible, totally inconsistent, and so disingenuous that the court is left with little confidence that the government can be trusted to tell the truth about anything. Now, as ranking member, I asked the chairman to add a few extra rounds of questions today because we each have 5 hours of questions, not 5 minutes, but we're stuck with 5 minutes. That's clearly insufficient to give voice to America's victims and survivors and to demand answers about all the corruption and cover-ups that we see at DOJ right now. We've got just 1 round, so we ask you politely but firmly, Madam Attorney General, please do not waste 1 second of our precious time.
Oh, she's going to waste all the seconds.
By changing the subject or engaging in personal attacks against members of Congress. We saw your performance in the Senate, and we're not going to accept that. This isn't a game. In the Senate, you brought something with you called a burn book, a binder of smears to attack members personally for doing the people's work of oversight. Please set the burn book aside and answer our questions. And when you hear us reclaim our time, that means it's time for you to stop speaking. We only have 5 minutes, so when we reclaim our time, that means you stop. And if you don't, we will ask the chair to stop the clock and let you go on his time. The quality of justice in America depends on the character of our government. Please do your job and bring the Department of Justice back from the brink. The survivors seated behind you and the American people watching everywhere deserve a Department of Justice worthy of its name. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record. We will now introduce today's witness. The Honorable Pamela J. Bondi has served as the Attorney General
Honorable.
of the United States since...
Shut up. We don't care about this. I'm not going to listen to Jim Jordan wipe her ass here. We'll see. But we're now going to have a Pam Bondi opening statement here in a minute. Congratulations to everybody in El Paso who has their airport open again. Did you guys see that story? This is just her being sworn in. Ozempic Pam. Look at her try, like, she can't smile. She's... The DOJ is actually doing their job. And yeah, is their job to hide the Epstein files? Is that their job? They are like 2 months late in producing the records for the Epstein files. Let's see what old Pammy has to say.
Member Raskin and distinguished members of this committee. Thank you for hosting me here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to answer
Guys, how cool is Nightbot, by the way? I think it's a good call by Jen, who is not here yet.
your questions, highlight the work of our department, and discuss the most important topic of all, keeping the American people safe. A little over a year ago, I was sworn into office as the 87th Attorney General of the United States. I came into office with the goal of refocusing the Department of Justice on its core mission after years of bloated bureaucracy and political weaponization. The Department of Justice's core mission is to fight violent crime, protect the American people, and defend the rule of law above all else.
Oh, okay.
While our work is never done, we have made tremendous progress to make America safe again. In 2025, we saw the lowest murder rate in 125 years.
Oof.
That's nothing short
Yeah, you're right.
of
That dye job's rough. We're going orange.
historic. If you compare 25 to 24, here's what you'll find. The murder rate is down 21%, robbery down 23%, carjacking down 43%, gun assault down 22%, ag assault, burglary, could go on and on. Crime is declining. This did not happen by accident. The numbers tell an important yet straightforward story. President Trump has given us the resources, the support, and the leadership to protect the American people.
For the record, she is she can keep citing the source. I'll let
Trump's
that play.
policies have saved.
For the record, the Department of Justice's job is to investigate crime. And so if crime is down, that doesn't mean that they caused crime to go down. This is one of those weird things that we do in this country that's just not true. Police don't cause crime generally to go down. Good economics cause crime to go down. That's generally what happens. Or good local policy. It is not the DOJ that causes crime to go down. Helping people on a local level, like the best thing you can do if you want to stop crime is on a local level, give people resources, obviously have police there to investigate, but like these numbers were all going down when they entered office too.
Responding officer.
We done with how much more do we have for?
Shot down by our military. That's what we all should care about right now. Protecting America. As we seek to dismantle these
When she gets emotional, she loses her spot because she's reading her anger.
drug trafficking
I
networks
bet it's in all caps right there.
that poison Americans, in 2025, our DEA agents seized more than 47 million fentanyl pills and more than 9,800 total kilos of fentanyl. That represents 369 million potentially deadly doses that can kill Americans. Meanwhile, our attorneys are fighting for President Trump's agenda in courtrooms across this country.
Remember when
this
everybody
administration has been sued.
was posting, where did that go? Remember when everybody on the right was posting this to celebrate the Trump administration? Look at all these fentanyl deaths. And then they're like, here's what we did. But this was like 2024. This is what happened in the last year of the Biden administration with fentanyl deaths. And then it's like kind of ticked down since then. This wasn't Trump that stopped that.
But a serious attack on the democratic process. In spite of this unprecedented judicial activism, we've attained 24 favorable rulings at the U.S. Supreme Court. Their emergency docket.
That's a good point. We may want to relish potentially the last time Pam Bondi gets to testify in front of Congress, because this might be it for her today. This is not going to be a good day for her.
Via congressional disclosure, thank you, Chairman, and restoring one tier of justice in this country.
No, she's not here specifically to testify about the Epstein files. She's here with her regular testimony, which is going to cover anything that she covers. So Republicans are going to talk about anything but the Epstein files. Democrats are basically only going to talk about the Epstein files. But she's here to talk about a broad range of things. Really, anything you want to ask her, you can ask her.
All to the public, while doing our very redacted it. All members of Congress, as you know, are invited to visit DOJ to see for yourselves.
Them taking credit for this, by the way, is sick because they redacted the files that they weren't supposed to redact. And then Ro Khanna and Massey filed a petition to have somebody else oversee this redaction process because they couldn't be trusted. And Pam Bondi and the DOJ rejected that in court. And then they came up with this other scenario like, well, you can come look at them on your own then. They keep taking credit for shit that they're forced to do.
I want to take a moment to acknowledge the Epstein survivors who are here today.
Oh.
I'm a career prosecutor. And despite what the ranking member said, I have spent my entire career fighting.
The main reason we don't talk about the files clearing Trump is because they didn't clear Trump. And you have to be absolutely fucking brain dead to think that they did. And this goes to show like how powerful this propaganda machine is. The stuff that came out yesterday about Trump show that Trump knew Epstein was a pedophile. He knew about it for years, and he didn't say anything about it to anybody until Epstein got arrested. And then he called and he's like, good job, boys. We all knew this. It didn't clear him of a goddamn thing. You have to be absolutely brain dead and unable to do research if you think that.
Of the law. In
Rory said,
2025,
ICE
the
assault up
FBI
80%.
arrested
Good
over
point.
1,700 child predators, a 10% increase from 2024. We also located 2,700 victims of child exploitation and shut down 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts.
Good.
3.8 million.
Good.
So please, if you have information to share that needs to be investigated, contact the FBI. Today, I look forward to discussing further our shared obligation to protect the American people, uphold.
Just a reminder, everybody, this isn't just about the Epstein files. This is not just a hearing for Epstein. It is a hearing for Pam Bondi, so they can ask her any question that relates to her job.
Recognize the gentleman from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam General.
Yeah, Donald Trump did not turn Jeffrey Epstein into the FBI. And go Google that right now. Google, did Donald Trump turn Jeffrey Epstein into the FBI? And it'll tell you no.
Thank you for your extensive remarks, particularly on your continued investigation of those responsible over the years in the Epstein debacle. Obviously, you have an amazingly full docket between civil rights.
He did. I Googled it for you. Did Trump turn Epstein into the FBI? No, there's no evidence that Trump turned Epstein into the FBI or was the one who initiated the criminal case against Epstein. He was first investigated in 2005 by Palm Beach Police Department. Newly released FBI records show that in 2006, a year later, Trump called Police Chief Michael Ryder and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him," claimed everyone has known he's been doing this. Exactly what I just said. That call was to the local police, not to the FBI starting the case, and it's not him helping at all. You just believe dumb shit. Between so-called white-collar crime, and doing so, as the chairman said, at a time in which both you and the president are under attack, and our ICE agents and FBI and others are under attack when they try to enforce the law. I personally want to apologize for those who would embolden, support, or even stand with those lawbreakers that sit on this and other daises here in Congress. My job generally is to talk about patents and trademarks as the chairman of that subcommittee. I'll forego that today
because one of my other jobs is the creation and maintenance of Article 3 judges, and I work with the Chief Justice on that, and we're trying to expand the court. But currently,
It's also important. It's weird that he's apologizing to her about people standing against ICE agents because she's not over ICE and DHS. So I don't know why they're apologizing to her. Her job is to investigate crimes.
you do so in order to save the court that, but adjudicate, as is requirement, each hearing in my home state, California. You're unable to apprehend people that my sheriffs want apprehended. They desperately want to cooperate, and they're prohibited by law. It is this committee's opinion on this side of the aisle that, in fact, you should be given the ability to demand that participation, and that the release of a known criminal not be considered to be acceptable just because of
Guys, Truth wants you to know Trump really is an informant. They're just not allowed to tell you that, so you just have to believe him. That's what MAGA's going with now. He's an informant. It just will never have confirmation of it. Okay.
State or city has declared itself a sanctuary. I want you to opine on just one thing that I think has been misunderstood. As I said earlier, you create and maintain those judges that adjudicate these cases. You also support so many that, in fact, have to make decisions as judges. Knowing that this limitation of so few Article 3 judges are there, please educate those who seem to miss the point that Article 1 judges, including bankruptcy judges, including immigration judges, including lots of people with the title appropriately judge, do in fact issue documents that look like, act like, and are normally accepted as warrants, as subpoenas, as demands for state officials to stand aside and allow the production of either an individual or documents. Because I think people are missing the point that these ICE retainers and detainers and so on, they act like they're nothing when in fact in the ordinary course, Madam General, you do in fact have Article 1 judges constantly putting those out, and they are respected normally.
Is that a question? What was that?
Thank you, Congressman, for talking about all the great judges. And if I could add one thing to that, we are always recruiting and looking for judges. So please reach out to our office for these judges who are handling all these very important matters. We've even added some JAG.
Important to note, too, this is Daryl Issa, and I was just looking. He represents California 48, there has been some redistricting. He was a Republican plus, it's a Republican plus 7 district historically, but it is now a toss-up due to redistricting and the fact that he and his friends are covering up the Epstein files, and Republicans have never been more unpopular.
In this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads...
Sorry, real quick. I don't know why Forbes is covering it up, but this is Congresswoman Jayapal. She is... what state is she? She's... Oh, Washington. She's like the Seattle area, right?
Quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video."
Woo, we're getting some good questions.
Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayman, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business
I didn't
and
know we had
personal
that name
ties
yet.
to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon.
If you remember, we covered this, and I asked, I was like, why the fuck is this redacted? Oh, it was a Trump business associate. Crazy, right? I'm gonna cross my legs. That's how excited I am for this. We're gonna ask some real fucking questions today.
And the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish
Yeah, Luna, this replay will be available later on YouTube and Twitch.
those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
Turn around, Pam. Turn around, you coward.
Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand.
Jesus.
Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Don't do it, Pam. Don't slander her. This is going to look bad for you.
Congresswoman, you set before...
There it is. Here's her fucking
Merrick
binder.
Garland's-
Here's her motherfucking binder. This dirtbag, dipshit, corrupt, scumbag administration has a whole fucking binder to not answer questions and to smear instead. It should be pretty fucking easy to turn around and say, we fucked up, my bad. But no, not this administration.
Sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Twice.
Bondi.
No, can I
I'm gonna
finish my
reclaim-
answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
Attorney General, yes, sir.
specific question
Attorney General
that
can
I
respond
would
to your
like
question.
you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
that's fucking bullshit. Jim Jordan is already running cover. The way that this works is the member owns the time. They get 5 minutes, they own the time. If they don't like how the witness is answering the question, they can cut them off and say, I'm reclaiming my time. Jim Jordan now is rewriting the rules to make sure that Pam Bondi doesn't have to apologize to victims who were trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. You sick pedophile protecting fucks. Asa Sophia said, I'm happy I'm not missing out on this. Thank you, Jay, for all your work. It's unmeasurable how much work you guys do. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Chairman,
Because she
it
doesn't
is
like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this?
I'm
Twice.
reclaiming
When
my
he sat in
time,
my
and
chair.
when
I
I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the
my
gentlelady has
time-
reclaimed
I'm
her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to
Oh,
the time
bitch, you're in the
belongs to the
gutter.
gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. you're not going to answer this question. So let me just
Chairman,
say this.
I'll direct it to
what a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness
I'm
is
not gonna get in
interrupted.
the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up. And I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
apologize.
The chair now recognizes the chair. now recognizes-
This is going to be a nightmare hearing for everybody. So buckle up. It's going to be this the entire time. Pam Bondi is going to refuse to answer a single question.
Done.
Time of the gentlelady
yield
expired.
back.
The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back.
Theatrics.
We appreciate that. We appreciate the thought. And I would argue the central issue in the last election, the presidential election, was securing the border. The gentleman from Arizona who knows something about securing the border is up for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today.
Here's my dipshit congressman.
In 2022, Lafarge, which is a French cement company, pled guilty in U.S. federal court to participating in a criminal conspiracy with ISIS.
Don't care.
American citizens' data and privacy.
The past administration. And we are committed to working with you on that. And we are working with Chairman Jordan, with the House Intel, with all of our...
She's going to collapse today. She is not going to do well today. She is already rattled.
my fellow cabinet members on resolving.
I said yesterday was like a watershed moment, and yesterday was a watershed moment. There's nobody, like, there's a bunch of people on the right who have already turned on this administration for what they're doing with the Epstein files. And those people who have already turned are going to watch this, and they're going to watch Pam Bondi in real time, refuse to answer any questions. This is going to be devastating for this administration. And it's about fucking time, because these people deserve some justice. And I really do. Like, these are watershed moments for them. This is a problem.
My office, I can't discuss anything regarding that because it is very active and ongoing.
And you probably can't answer this one either, but I really want to know if Section 702 queries related to that matter involved members of Congress, which we know at some level it did, congressional staff, which we know at some level did. We've heard that journalists or other U.S. persons not suspecting of acting as foreign agents were also caught up in that. Can you answer that question and say whether queries did cover all those groups I just identified?
It is a very...
What was that? Let me put in it even bigger. Why are you a dick writer for the government? Burned out medic.
active pending investigation within my office. However, I believe many members of Congress have stated that their phones were
Thanks, Burned Out Medic. Appreciate it.
were part of Arctic frost.
Jen is here now, so if you're sending stuff to Jen, I'll be able to get those now.
We are well aware of that, and we are taking this very seriously, and this is a very active investigation. And I would keep going and say, if any member of the Democrat Party, if any of them, if that had happened to them,
They got their phone logs subpoenaed. They're acting like, the outrage from Pam Bondi that some phone logs were subpoenaed while sitting behind her are the victims of that were sex trafficked as children. And they want you to be outraged about members of Congress having their phone logs, not messages, not phone calls, not emails, just the logs of who they called subpoenaed. That is one of the most pathetic fake outrages you could imagine. Can you imagine being here in front of all of these people? And the only thing you get mad about is people asking you questions about why you're not helping these victims, and then your real outrage is that some members of Congress had their phone records subpoenaed?
we would take that just as serious as we do. And they
Stop the
should be
pivot.
jumping
Thank
up
you,
and down,
Medic.
screaming, supporting you and what you want to do. because this should be a bipartisan issue.
Well, I hope it is a bipartisan issue,
El Paso airspace reopened.
Back a little bit.
misuse of 702 would be very particularly helpful.
And it was extensive. Yes, Congressman. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
I have a UC, Mr. Chairman.
Denounce Trump. Thank you.
And that is the gentlelady from Texas.
I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record. El Paso airspace reopened after FAA quickly rescinds 10-day flights restriction. This was published by the Texas Tribune on February 11th, 2026.
This was so crazy. I don't know if you guys caught this story, but in El Paso yesterday, just out of nowhere, there was a notice put out by the government. Nobody knew it was coming. The military didn't know it was coming, and they said they had to shut down the airspace around El Paso and parts of New Mexico for 10 days. And then by this morning, it was lifted. A very bizarre thing. Like they haven't done anything like this apparently since 9/11. I don't know a great deal about this, but it was supposed to be shut down for 10 days, and it lasted less than 10 hours.
And it says it was because of an impasse with the DOD over the use of unmanned military aircraft and not triggered by Mexican cartel drones.
Without objection.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I didn't hear back about the second round of questions. I assume that's not happening. I just want to be able to assure the members, certainly on my side, if not both sides.
That's not a point of order.
No, that every member will get 5 minutes with the witness. Will there be 5 minutes for each?
Yeah, you get 5 minutes. Yeah.
With the witness. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. Okay. And are you up next? Gentleman from New York is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I want to begin by acknowledging the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's
Oh, Clown Meat is not you, Burned Out Medic? I thought, the app Burned Out Medic, I thought you were saying that was you. Clown Meat, Burned Out Medic is not a fan of Donald Trump. He hates Donald Trump. I think Burned Out Medic's on your side. You might be confused.
horrific abuse who are in the room with us today. I want to thank all of you for your bravery in speaking out.
Oh, Nadler woke up.
I want to say that you and the other survivors of these heinous crimes
You're good,
deserve
dude.
better from
Happens.
this Department of
I do that too
Justice.
sometimes.
In particular, it is shocking that the department did not redact the names of Epstein's victims, but it did redact the names of their abusers. I don't know whether this was done out of incompetence or whether it was deliberate and malicious, but either way, it is completely unacceptable. Even more troubling, the DOJ has failed to bring any of these perpetrators to justice. Instead, it has engaged in a relentless pursuit of Donald Trump's perceived enemies. I want to focus on just one example. The Attorney General of my home state of New York, Tish James. This DOJ has been hell-bent on securing an indictment against Ms. James for something, anything, simply because she held Donald Trump.
Clown Meat says, I apologize publicly to Burned Out Medic. I'm laughing, Clown Meat, because I've done it at least like 20 times where I misunderstand what somebody said and I go after them and then they have to comment like, that's not what I meant. So I'm just laughing because I've done it too publicly. And so no harm, no foul.
Companies accountable for years of financial fraud. And indeed, the department manufactured an investigation against her for alleged, quote, mortgage fraud. But the U.S. attorney leading the investigation, Eric Siebert, a Trump appointee, refused to bring charges against Ms. James because there was simply no evidence. Unfortunately, a prosecutor who refuses to do Trump's bidding has no place in this DOJ, so Mr. Siebert was forced out. Trump could not contain his fury that he expressed to you in a social media post addressed to you by name. I'm sure you've seen it. Quote, I fired him and there is a great case, he wrote to you about Mr. Siebert. Then we moved down. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. And obviously, you followed that order. Lindsay Halligan, Trump's former defense lawyer who had never prosecuted a case in her life, was installed to replace Mr. Siebert, and it was clear that part of her mandate was to go after Ms. James. Halligan immediately sought an indictment, which a court dismissed because Halligan was
The next day, like second day on the job, just indicted somebody. How do you come up with an indictment in one day?
Legally put into the role. But your department was undeterred, and not once, but twice, it tried to indict Attorney General James in separate courts. Both grand juries rejected you and refused to indict her. It is practically unheard of for a grand jury to refuse an indictment. In 2016, it happened in just 6 cases out of over 150,000 offenses. And you had it happen twice in the same week, in 2 different courts. That must have been humiliating. And now there are reports that you are continuing to investigate her. The amount of resources that have gone into targeting Attorney General James, months of investigations, multiple failed indictments.
Point. Thanks a lot. The Wild. Good to see you here. Joe Thompson, former U.S. Attorney from Minnesota, quit because of Trump and Bondi and is now representing Don Lemon.
Is astounding. Since your own prosecutors told you that there is not enough evidence to support a conviction, it's clear that you were going after her simply because she held President Trump accountable and he wants to punish her. And she is just one name on a long list of Trump political enemies that DOJ is reporting.
I'm trying to listen to Jerry Nadler, but my God, I can't do it.
Chairman,
my time.
because it's very interesting to answer the question.
Harassment is something they can charge their enemies with. We now have concrete evidence of disgusting criminality revealed in the Epstein files. So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
She won't answer. Let me check my binder.
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you can answer the question the way I asked it.
I don't want to answer your question. I want to answer my questions.
Answer the question. God, this is going to be let me just tell you this. This is going to be the hardest stream that I've ever presented. And for this reason, if you've watched my stream, you know I love calling MAGA men dumb bitches. You also know that I'm very careful about not calling women bitches because there's a different, connotation there. There's a different impact there. I've already called her a bitch once. I don't like doing it. I feel bad about doing it. I might slip again. I'm going to do my very best not to do it, but this is going to be a fucking nightmare. I've got to come up with a different insult for Pam Bondi. So in the chat, if you could help me come up with a different insult than calling her a bitch. It's just my own personal principle. I don't call women bitches. I don't like it. It feels bad for me. So we got to come up with something else. Otherwise, I'm going to end this stream feeling awful about myself.
Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Jim, tell him to stop asking me these mean questions, Jim.
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very
Reclaiming my
interesting.
time.
You can
that
reclaim
he
your
talks
time,
about they
reclaiming my time,
indicted.
Mr.
The
Chairman.
president said they
Close the
indicted
clock.
him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock
did.
and stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
The
Reclaiming
time
my
belongs
time
to the
and
gentleman
build
from
back
New
the clock,
York.
please.
We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when
Reclaiming
you ask
my-
a question, the witness
question
gets to
was-
answer. You may not like the answer, but she
Right.
gets to
The
answer.
question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like
Que-
the answer,
Reclaiming
Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest.
Reclaiming
So
my-
he asked a
Reclaiming my
4-minute
time.
question.
Restore 45
and
seconds to
I am
Mr. Nadler,
going
please,
to
Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch.
Reclaiming-
Not on our time. No way.
Reclaiming-
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
She is an absolute fucking mess. She's done. She's cooked. Any Republican that's in here right now, she is fucking you in the ass with a boat paddle. You are so fucked. This is what happens when you hire unqualified people that only get their job because they live deep inside of Donald Trump's asshole. This is what incompetence looks like. This is one of the most pathetic performances I've ever seen. She's out of fucking control. And some of you maggot, you're like, yeah, get him, because you're also out of fucking control. She's done. She's cooked. You guys are done. You're cooked. You shouldn't have hired a convicted felon who was all over the Epstein files, and you shouldn't have looked the other way for this long as you guys protected pedophiles, but this will be the undoing of MAGA.
I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I
Not a
said that
few more,
already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go
All
right
right.
Reclaiming my time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0. You have been the Attorney General for a whole year, and your DOJ fired the lead prosecutor of this case, sat on evidence this entire time, and claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. It took an act of Congress for you to finally release part of the Epstein files, and when you did, you included personal information.
Oh, Don, you're pathetic too. He asked how many people she'd investigated. The answer's 0. If she wants to answer it, answer the fucking question. The answer was 0, and she didn't want to answer that question. You're protecting pedophiles too. You're gross too.
About the victims while protecting the names of abusers.
Time of the gentleman
None
has
of the perpetrators
expired.
have been brought to justice, but enormous resources
Time
have been
of the
dedicated
gentleman
to
has
pursuing Trump's
expired,
enemies.
and
It's
obviously
clear
there
that
was-
under your leadership, the Department of Justice
There
no
was
longer
no
works for
question
American
in there
people. It works
for her to
for
respond
Donald
to.
Trump. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
May I answer?
I think our next questioner, Madam Attorney General, is going to give you time to respond to
Thank you, Chairman.
all kinds of things. So we will.
But we're not.
Jeffrey Epstein, are you
Mr. Jordan.
Committee will be in order.
smashing records? Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
What does that have to do with your job? 401ks?
We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked.
Yeah, you're the fucking attorney general. What does the Dow have to do with any part of your job?
Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan,
Committee will be in order.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
The committee will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. Ms. Bondi, the Attorney General can respond.
Thank you. The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. National median rents.
Every president ever has presided over the highest Dow. But this has nothing to do with her job. She's reading it. Stephen Miller or somebody gave her talking points to come in here while she's testifying about her job, and she's going to publicly fillet Donald Trump. You guys are fucking broken. Fucking broken.
Have fallen to a 4-year low thanks to Donald Trump. That's why they want to focus on Epstein.
Have you seen the investigation by the noisy immigrant here on Twitch? He's in New Zealand and has broken their code for trafficking and found so many linkages. No, will you send that to me?
Transparent president in the nation's history.
What is she doing?
The murder rate, as I said,
what the fuck is she doing? Why is she filleting Donald Trump right now?
To a 125-year low, thanks to Donald Trump.
What the fuck is going on? Why is she doing this?
9 straight months, there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern border. That's what we should be focused on. All the great work that this president has done and will continue to do to keep America safe and to make Americans safe.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. I agree with you totally. I think you've done a fine job. I think that Democrats, in fact, should be apologizing to the Epstein victims for doing nothing during the 4 years that they were running the government. We did not hear about.
This is such a crazy thing. Democrats should actually apologize. You're doing nothing now. You didn't do anything then. And by the way, you guys had the House. You could have done a discharge petition while Joe Biden was in office. You could have done that. You didn't do that. But this, like, how does this work on you, MAGA? How the fuck does this type of rhetoric work on you? They're right now covering it up, and they think Democrats should apologize? Jesus, the earliest they could have got the Epstein files was 2023. Okay, that's the earliest we could have done it when these investigations were done. Maybe late 2022. I don't remember the exact timeline. The last year of Joe Biden's presidency, they could have went after the Epstein files. They should have gone after the Epstein files. Fuck Merrick Garland for that. Fuck Joe Biden for that. But also fuck the Republicans who controlled the House. Fuck them also, right? And fuck them for covering it up this entire year. Fuck them for threatening all the people in their party, saying, if you vote to release the Epstein files, we will consider it a hostile act. Fuck them for running cover for Pam Bondi right now. You have to be absolutely brain dead with an IQ lower than 20 to buy this shit, or you're in a cult. They're the ones covering it up right now as we speak, and they want to blame Democrats for them covering it up right now. Even if Democrats had covered it up under the Biden administration, why would you point that out? Why would you bring that? Why would you do that? It just shows that, all right, well, they must have learned. The Democrats, I guess, learned. We didn't. We're still covering it up.
This, and it took you and President Trump to finally provide transparency and give answers to the American people, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you also.
They threatened everybody not to release it. What do you mean it took her and Trump to get this to the American people? It was Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, and 100% of the Democrats and a handful of Republicans that forced this. Donald Trump threatened everybody not to vote for it. This is how sick we are as a country. This is why every other country's like worried about us. They're all arresting people. They're all going through. They're removing people from office as we speak that are connected to the Epstein files, and they're all pointing at America and going, Are they actually gonna just cover this up the whole time?
For standing up for truth today and for fighting back against the theatrics and the time waste that you will endure over the next hour or two. I want to apologize on behalf of my colleagues on the left. They're not all that bad, but they've got to put on a show. And I'm sorry that you have to go through that. And I would like to yield.
Imagine saying this in front of the victims right now who are there seeking justice and seeking a voice. And just imagine for a second, you're not a Republican. Easy to do. Nobody's going to view this the way that MAGA, you're viewing this. Nobody's going to look at this and say, yeah, the Democrats are just putting on a show, because everybody outside of MAGA cares about this deeply. The whole world cares about this deeply because we all have moms, we have sisters, we have daughters, we have cousins, we have loved ones that have been hurt or abused or could potentially be somebody abused. We all care about this, and everybody knows the government covered it up. And oh my God, how embarrassing it is to live in a country where the majority party is pretending this isn't happening.
Lest I'd say 40, but 40 is 80 seconds. The clock says 40, but I've got 80 seconds since I was so rudely interrupted, and I'll give all 80 seconds to Chairman Jordan.
And I would just yield to the Attorney General if she has anything to add.
Thanks, Heather.
I'm fine to
that was
continue.
maybe
Thank
from
you,
yesterday.
Chairman.
All right, the chair now recognizes, the gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes
There it
the
is.
lady from California.
Edith said, call her a twat waffle. That seems worse.
Nadler's question has not yet been answered, but I want to start by asking that out of respect for the American public and the Epstein survivors, some of whom...
Ryan said, sometimes, Jay, the word works. Can't help if she's a bitch. Dustin said, Pam pivoting from DJT eating kids. We should. Andrew said, for your overtime, thanks for your work. Fuck Donald Trump. Thank you very much.
Of course, are here today, that we can have a transparent conversation and get the public the answers they deserve. I want to briefly direct your attention to two documents I'm hoping we will put up on the screen. In the first, an individual emails Jeffrey Epstein asking whether a woman identified as M was pro or civilian, and Epstein responds that she was a civilian, Russian, and fun. In the second email, Epstein writes to Steve Tisch about a Ukrainian girl, noting that she was, quote, a little freaked out by the age difference and stating that he would try to convince her not to return to Ukraine. He then instructs Mr. Tisch to call him, adding, I don't like records of these conversations. So I'd like to ask a straightforward question that really is either a yes or no answer. Do these emails constitute credible evidence?
Chris said, sending on behalf of Ryan, Jeffrey, and Chet because he's jealous of your gifts. Love you and Jenny, your work. That's right. Sorry. Whatever you do, don't send super chats. It makes MAGA mad.
Proof, but credible evidence warning further investigation into whether Steve Tisch was involved in Epstein's criminal conduct. Do you think yes or no?
I'm not going to play a yes-no game with you, but I will answer the question to the best of my ability. As I said, we will look and investigate any case involving any victim I'm not familiar. There were 3 million pages, of course, with that email. But of course, we will look into anything. The documents have been released, 3 million. The redacted versions, we left them open for all of you to come view. Have you? I believe you view them. If not, will you have some copies?
I'd like to.
Could I finish, please? I'm not being rude. Please.
I only have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, and I only have 30 seconds based on your filibuster.
You didn't
It's not a filibuster. It's asking a question, which she still hasn't answered.
give a yes or no answer. So let me just go further. Director Patel testified in this committee room that there was no credible information indicating that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone else. And glancing at the documents, that proves that's not the case. In July, your department issued a memo stating that it had conducted an exhaustive review of the Epstein files and concluded that no additional individuals would be charged. So I did go over to the Department of Justice yesterday. I would note that 400 and all our 35 members are in the House, and there's 4 computers. So it would take many months to actually have the time. I only had a few hours. I think the transparency argument is really kind of a sham because it's not really possible.
Whoa. Did you have to wait?
That wasn't a
It is not
question.
possible to,
Hang on.
to really go in. I did, however, see a U.S. attorney information for the Southern District of New York indicating that there were additional survivors and probable co-conspirators. Other members of Congress have uncovered likely.
I love this, Don. The Dems did not give a damn about the Epstein victims ever before, not one of them except now. And you don't care now. So fuck you, okay? I don't know what was in any of their hearts ever before, but you don't care now. And the thing that was different between them not caring and you is they may not have cared. You might be absolutely right about that. But what they didn't do is actively cover it up after a law was written demanding that the files be released. And it is the height of hypocritical fuckery for you to make that statement while you're actively covering it up. Not caring is a problem. Covering it up is a bigger problem. This is why I'm telling you it's a watershed moment. Enjoy your last moments in the sun. It's over for MAGA. You cannot cover up the largest pedophile ring in the world while the rest of the world refuses to cover it up and makes arrests. You will lose every ounce that you gained. And the longer that you fight this is the longer that you will remain out of power. I'm saying this on the record. I've said it multiple times now. I do not believe Donald Trump will finish this term as president.
Co-conspirators whose names were blocked out. Now, the Epstein File Transparency Act, which all but one member of this House voted for and the president signed, requires the department to release everything except that it needs to be redacted to protect the victims or an ongoing process.
Maybe I am delusional, but if I'm not delusional, remember that I said it. And then if I wind up being right about that, come back and admit it. And if I'm wrong, come back and I'll admit it.
Which apparently there is none from the testimony we have received. I am concerned that this act has not been fully complied with. When Director Patel came to the committee, he admitted that up to 1,000 FBI agents had gone through the files and redacted President Trump's name from them. And it's pretty clear that what has been transmitted from the FBI continues to redact President Trump's name, even though he is mentioned, thousands of times.
Million. We now have a number. It's 950,000 times Donald Trump is mentioned in there, and he's redacted millions of times. Even for those of you that are like, it's mostly Democrats on that list. 2 things you need to understand. 1, I don't give a flying fuck about the Democrats. I don't like most of them. I'm not a Democrat myself. I just happen to be on the left. But I can't fucking stand these people. And they should have advocated for the Epstein files to be released in 2023. And I should have advocated for that. And I didn't. And I feel shitty about that. And they should feel shitty about that. But just like they didn't, your people didn't either. And your people, your president, and half of his fucking cabinet is in the Epstein files. Not the people you voted for. And these aren't people on the left. You have, some donors that are in the files, and you have some of these people who got money from donors. On your side, you have people literally hanging out with Epstein, and Trump brought them into the cabinet. You have Pam Bondi, who was a lobbyist for Qatar, who's all over these files. You have Pam Bondi, who at the time was a U.S. attorney in Florida when the sweetheart deal for Alex Acosta was the sweetheart deal that Alex Acosta gave to Jeffrey Epstein happened. And what happened to Alex Acosta after he gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal? Trump hired him, knowing that he gave him that sweetheart deal. Remember, Trump, the guy who's like, "Oh, I'm the one that told people about Epstein," which is a fucking lie. Then he hired the attorney who gave him the sweetheart deal. And then only after public outcry was Acosta pushed back to the side. Whatever you want to say about these Democrats is probably fair, but you're worse on every level. There isn't a single solitary accusation you can make about Democrats where Republicans aren't worse. And that's the problem that you're going to have with messaging. Democrats now, 3 out of the 3 people who have spoken have asked Pam Bondi about the Epstein files. 3 out of the 3 people who have spoken on the Republican side have refused to address anything about the Epstein files. You are covering it up. Nobody gives a fuck what you say in the chat. You're covering it up. Illusion said, last message cut off. I wrote Pam pivoted from DJT, possibly eating kids. We should know, but it's redacted. That's twice Venmo cut off my message. Thank you. Halamo said, I know it'll be hard, but I've seen chats recently, people saying that the EP started trans individuals, obviously was differently worded. Could you show the file portions that sadly show otherwise? I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that part. Maybe send me a link. Rory said, I now see why you wanted this behind closed doors. Yeah. Daryl said, gutter rat fits her. That's pretty good. Like that one. There was a couple here. Chris said, call her a fucking weapons grade moron. Heather said, for you may not want to, but I will call her a bitch. That's the beauty of, I guess that's the rare time, like women, you have the privilege of being able to call them a bitch. That's great.
In these files. So I think the credibility of the department in terms of complying with the act has been damaged. And I think the department's credibility has been damaged in other ways. I think we all saw the horrible video of American citizens being killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis.
Trump exposed the cabal, and it's them. Amy Lynn, thank you.
I think how the department has handled these cases raises a lot of doubt about the department. State and local police in Minnesota got a court order to get access to the crime scene to be sure evidence would be properly preserved by federal agents. But they took the agents defied the court order, and in a departure from general policy, the DOJ is not collaborating with state and local law enforcement on these homicides. So I really think that is a disgraceful approach to the homicides of American citizens, and really does nothing to bring credit to your department. And Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
May I answer?
Attorney General can respond.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump.
Here comes another prepared statement. I think it's interesting that she went after God. Let me tell you some more things about God here.
Greatest president in American history.
Greatest,
And if they could,
greatest president in American history. Fucking greatest. What in the fuck? The DOJ is not supposed to be partisan. They're not supposed to be political at all. This is the most political DOJ I've ever seen.
maintain their composure. This isn't a circus.
How's
this
this
is a
answering
hearing.
the question?
I find it interesting she keeps going after Donald Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you? None. And
None.
Nor
Mr. Chairman,
I already checked this. I already know who's here. She took $0 from Reid Hoffman. Pam Bondi tried this shit last time, and she gets it wrong every fucking time. They didn't take any money from Reid Hoffman. She didn't take any money from Reid Hoffman. That's a lie. But fuck Reid Hoffman, by the way, the founder of LinkedIn, who was very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein and who hated Donald Trump and who has been a donor to Democrats for decades. And the Democrats who took money from Reid Hoffman overlooked obvious connections. And anybody who took money from Reid Hoffman, I wouldn't vote for. And if you happen to be in a district and you have the opportunity in the primaries to vote against somebody who took money from Reid Hoffman, or frankly, any oligarch, do it. Don't vote for him.
Order, please.
She
Regular order.
posted
Gentlemen.
nothing on her X account, on
Gentlelady.
her Twitter account during the Biden years.
Gentlelady.
Yet now
She didn't
all
post
of a
anything on her
sudden
Twitter.
She's going after
Committee will be in
point of
order.
There was no
Committee will
question
be in
asked
order.
the Attorney General. She doesn't just get to speak.
Committee will be in order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Committee will be in order.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady can state her point of order.
When a witness attacks,
Not a valid point of order. You got to state.
She hasn't completed her point of order yet.
Gotta
Please let her
cite-
speak, Mr. Chairman. Let's have some regular order here.
Regular order is you got to state the rule, and she
I am
didn't do it.
trying to make a point of order that the witness,
And what
without,
rule are you referring to?
without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic that she can't answer the questions and instead is
That
attacking
is not even close
members
to
of the
point of
committee.
order. The gentleman from Wisconsin is right.
It is pathetic. Can I answer that question? Go ahead, answer the question. I didn't really like her. She didn't even talk about money she took from Reid Hoffman.
Nice.
You guys look like toddlers, MAGA. This is how you're being portrayed, as fucking toddlers today.
In August of last year, I sent a letter to the Department of Justice asking for assistance in seeking compensation for the town of Lac du Flambeau. Town of Lac du Flambeau is in my district, and your office replied that it was an ongoing matter and unable to comment on it, which I understand. That was just fine. But I want to set this up just as a reminder. So 3 years ago, it was at this time of year that 4 roads were blockaded in the town of Lac du Flambeau.
In the name of
and
Jesus
the
Christ,
attempt
amen.
to avail themselves of federal resources to make sure that this industrial scale fraud is rooted out to protect the taxpayers of the United States. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from
Oh,
Tennessee.
Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank you for holding this hearing and holding it in a proper
Boy, that 5 minutes went by fast.
fashion as you have. Secondly, I'd like to thank all of the victims of the Epstein case who've come here to attend this hearing, for doing it and for being brave and trying to move this justice forward. I apologize, I can't do it, but the Attorney General not recognizing you, that's embarrassing. I am from Memphis, General Bondi, and Memphis does have the task force there. The Memphis
Real
State-
quick, Brianna said Bondi acting like a pissin. I'm gonna lose my PayPal. Bondi acting like a piss-infected cum bubble. Jesus Christ. Halo Merck said, I'm talking about the trans victim that they had and tried to speak out, but was immediately slandered and made out to be a man instead. Was spoken of in a few emails and files here and there. Her name is Ava Cordero. That's a blind spot for me. Please do send that to me. I'm not aware of that. I admittedly, I've purposely not watched other people's Epstein coverage. I've tried to go through it on my own and do research the way that I do. I haven't wanted my coverage to be, I guess, influenced by other people's coverage. So I haven't come across that yet. So if you'll send that to me, I can probably comment on it tomorrow. But I was unaware of any of that. So thank you for making me aware.
Task Force has been operating in Memphis for several months, and we do have a Democratic mayor, Paul Young, and he's not against the task force, but he is against ICE being in Memphis.
For the record, I believe that it's true. It's just there's millions of files, so there's most of this stuff in the files I haven't come across yet. I mean, I've probably went through 5% of it in my reporting, so I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying it hasn't come up with what I've researched yet.
And he's not in favor of the National Guard being in Memphis. And I concur with him on those positions. I think the DEA being there, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Oh, sorry. Sarah Beth said I vote for throwing out or muting every dipshit troll.
The FBI, who have been in Memphis in other ways, having more people there is good for Memphis. Crime has gone down in Memphis, but it went down 25% before the task force got there under the direction of Mayor Young and Director Davis, Chief Davis. It's gone down about 15% more since then, and that's good. But I would like to comment that Mexico.
Demar Dumb, I've already done this with you, and I'm probably gonna get tired of you today. But I covered the FBI timeline yesterday, and it doesn't exonerate Trump. You're too stupid to understand what you're seeing.
City's homicide rate has gone down 40% during the same time when Memphis has only gone down 25%, and that's not necessarily because of the task force, although the mayor says he thinks it's helped. So I thank you for that. You would agree, I presume, that violent crime in communities across our country is critically important, and that's why the task force is there. Is that not true?
Yes, and if I can just add to that, I think the surge, the FBI, our FBI under the leadership of Director Patel, came in and did a surge in Memphis.
Earlier.
Prior to the task force.
Yeah, Viper.
And thank you for saying that about Mayor Young. He's been great to work with, and thank you.
He's a good guy.
He's a very good.
And I just want to let my Republican friends here know that there's a good chance you're going to get muted a lot today by mods. And there's a reason for that. Generally, I let the mods kind of do whatever the fuck they want because I trust the mods. And generally speaking, they don't mute people for shit that isn't against our rules. Occasionally, they will, and I don't really care about that either. But I have great mods here. However, today is a day when we are talking about children who were abused and who have been ignored, women who have been abused and are ignored, trans people who have been abused and ignored, and a government cover-up. And today is a day that a lot of people are going to have very extreme feelings, especially people who have endured this type of trauma in their life or have loved ones who have endured this type of trauma in their life. And so for that reason, today, mods, I don't give a fuck. I don't want you banning people unless it's horrific, but if somebody refuses to engage in what we're talking about today, or if people are making light of these victims, I don't give a fuck, mods. You can use the mute button however you want. You know what our rules are, and I trust all of you to use it judiciously, but we will loosen the rules for the mods a little bit today. If you're coming in here and you're just going to try and troll people on a day when there's something this sensitive, one, fuck you, you're a sick fuck, and two, fuck you. And mods, do your thing.
The guy.
One problem I've got with where we are in priorities here. A recent Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice report based on arrest records in Texas and in California found that undocumented immigrants were less than half as likely as U.S.-born Americans to be arrested for homicide. And this pattern holds for assault, sexual assault, robbery, burglary, theft, and arson. Half as likely to be arrested for drug offenses. So I ask you, and I've written to you about this, there are TV ads that run that say to local law enforcement, specifically.
Halo said, how do I send it? You can send me a link on TikTok. If you're in our Discord, you can send it there. You can send it to me on Twitter. Or Instagram. You can find any of those. Those are the best ways to send it.
Are you tired of having your hands handcuffed?
Coffee
because
dolphin.
You can't do the things you wanted to do when you joined. And if you want to do something different, join ICE, and you'll get a $50,000 bonus, and we'll pay off your debts, student debts, and we'll help you with.
Me too, Patrick. I'm excited to hear the Clintons testify, and they're going to.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're encouraging local law enforcement to leave local law enforcement and go to work for ICE. We need people working in the front lines and local law enforcement to protect our citizens from the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst are not the immigrants. The worst of the worst records show are native-born Americans.
Boom.
And they are committing crimes that hurt our citizens and our cities. And you're working against it, and thank you for that. But by trying to get our local law enforcement, where we have an undercount of officers in Memphis, to leave Memphis and go to work for ICE to deport people is a wrong priority. Why are we trying to get people, policemen who are working on the front lines, to leave the front lines, take the $50,000 and go to work for ICE and instead of working to fight the worst of the worst?
Congressman, I have not yet seen that commercial, that ad. I would argue that we need strong people in both local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and all of our federal agencies.
Notice how she's capable of answering questions if it's not about the Epstein files. This is why people are going to get upset today. Because when she's asked questions, that was a long monologue. That was a lot of questions. She's not upset. She only gets upset when somebody asks her about the Epstein files. Just pay attention to that pattern.
Agencies working together. I've seen some of the worst violent
Wait, this isn't a Republican. This is a Democrat that's asking these questions.
criminals, violent criminals who were in this country illegally. We both know that. And in Memphis, working hand in hand, I want to stick with Memphis and your mayor and what you discussed, because there have been nearly 6,000 arrests as of February 8th, and I think you agree with this, in your district, and almost 600 gang members. What we found in Memphis, a lot of the gangs are local gangs. But 600 gang members were taken
Let me
off
reclaim
the
my time
streets.
because I've only got 40 seconds. I'm going to agree with you.
148 yeah.
I thank you for that.
And 148 missing children were recovered by all of us working together, and nearly 1,000 illegal guns were seized as a
I would like
result
to
of us
reclaim my
working
time.
together.
And I don't disagree with some of the things you said, but there are questions about those children, but it's a different thing. The fact is, ICE is running rampant, and you are not investigating them. When they killed Mr. Pretti, and Ms. Good, that was an execution, and you did not investigate it. And you tried to investigate Ms. Good's widow, and you tried to investigate Mr. Pretti. They were executed, like Kristi Noem executed her dog. And that was wrong. And you should investigate those people, and you should investigate anybody that uses a weapon, federal official or not, for civil.
Somewhere Kristi Noem's facial expression didn't change at all because she can't change her facial expression, but she's very upset about this.
Rights violations. I yield back the balance.
Gentleman yields back his time. Madam Attorney General, anytime you need a break, just let us know. If not,
great.
we'll just keep going. The chair is now recognized for 5 minutes. Madam Attorney General, you're not allowed to exercise your constitutional rights in a way that tramples on someone else's, are you?
No.
No, you can't do that. I mean, you have a right to petition the government under the First Amendment. That doesn't mean you can come into this. Appreciate the
Thanks, Jim Jordan.
trying to make it one.
Appreciate that.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
God, that Republican time goes by so fast. Those 5 minutes just fly by, don't they?
And General Bondi, it's been reported that there were at one point 1,000 personnel assigned to the task of identifying and scrubbing Donald Trump's name from the Epstein files. Were those reports accurate?
I believe his name has appeared countless times in the documents
how
that
many
have
people were
been released.
assigned?
If I could finish, I'm going to read you the stats.
I just simply asked whether or not it was true that it was 1,000 folks who were assigned that task. Were those reports accurate?
There are more than 500 attorneys and reviewers. I cannot give you an exact number.
And
Who-
I
I'm
wanted
trying
to
to
ask
answer-
you.
I'm
I wanted to
answering the
ask you about
question,
that
sir.
also, because
Who
this
were
is a different
assisting
question
with
that
this
you're getting to
project?
now. There were 500 DOJ
At
lawyers and others assigned the task of redacting the appropriate information, including identities of the Epstein victim survivors from the Epstein files prior to their release. 500, is that correct?
John's just gasping for air here.
Let her talk. Let her say whatever she wants to say. I need her to tell me things about Donald Trump that I like.
John and MAGA, I am tired of you already today. If you don't recognize that she's not answering the questions that they're asking, then perhaps Sesame Street would be a better use of your time today. Perhaps Barney. Perhaps Schoolhouse Rock. If you are legitimately that stupid that you can't hear what she's saying and recognize that it doesn't apply to the question that she's being asked, then you should go somewhere else and perhaps get the cliff notes of this later. Have one of your friends who's smarter than you explain what happened today. But you whiny little bitches all fucking day, just wanting her to be able to filibuster shows that you are like them. You are desperate for these victims not to have their voices heard and not to have their questions answered. These questions, the Democrats met with the victims. These are the questions the victims want answered. And so every time you celebrate Pam Bondi dodging these questions, you, like the Republicans in this room, are taking away from these victims' rare opportunity to have the person responsible for covering up the Epstein files answer questions. And you are, like, if your loyalty to Donald Trump means that much to you, then perhaps get off the internet, go to D.C., and suck his dick. Sniff his diaper. I don't know. Get a cardboard cutout like Marjorie Taylor Greene and grind up on it. But we don't need you guys here filleting Donald Trump and cheerleading a cover-up for pedophiles.
If I could have finished my answer, there were more than 500 attorneys and reviewers who assisted with the.
That answers my. Can you not admit that Trump called the police on Epstein? You can't fucking read. He called the police after Epstein was arrested and said, "Good job, boys. We all knew he was doing this." He did not call the police on Epstein. He called after the police arrested Epstein and said, "Good job." And he didn't even call the right police. He didn't even call the FBI like you guys claimed. He called Palm Beach Police Department and said, "Good job, boys. We all knew what he was doing," which flies in the face of his other public statements that he had no idea that Jeffrey Epstein was doing this to underage girls. I swear to God, like, this is why he loves you. None of you can fucking read.
And they don't want an answer.
That answers my question, ma'am, and I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on.
From
General
multiple
Bondi, would
districts.
you
It will be in
agree?
order.
This
Time
is
belongs.
ridiculous.
The time belongs to the gentleman from Georgia.
General Bondi, would you agree that your 8 years of service as the state of Florida's Attorney General, the third largest state in the nation, served as an excellent preparation for your current role as Attorney General for the United States of America?
Not only that, I was a career prosecutor for 18 years.
And for
18 years.
And for 18
prior
years,
to being
for 18 years,
he asked a
you
question and doesn't
prosecuted-
want an answer. This is theatrics.
Well, no, for 18 years, you
on.
prosecuted serious felony
Thank you, Android.
cases, including drug cases, correct?
Oh, I prosecuted homicides. I prosecuted
That would
capital
just be
cases.
yes
I
or no.
prosecuted domestic.
Drug. See, I'm gonna have to walk MAGA through this. You prosecuted drug cases, correct? I prosecuted homicides. He just asked about drug cases. This is why you have to cut her off. This is called theatrics. This is a filibuster.
Domestic violence cases. I prosecuted multiple cases, and that's why I feel for all of these victims. And did you ask Merrick Garland this when you were sitting before
you also
him, sir?
prosecuted sexual assault cases and child sex trafficking cases, correct?
I answered that question earlier.
Okay.
I prosecuted
All right.
multiple
Well,
cases
so
when I
bottom
was
line,
a prosecutor.
bottom
If I
line,
can
you're an
answer the question,
experienced and
for
seasoned.
18
I asked the question. I already answered that. All right, great. Let me answer. You just said you already answered it.
years.
Mr. Chairman, will you reminder of the rules? The time belongs to the member of the committee.
You
think
are
I've-
Am I mad that Trump's my president? Yes, I am.
Said that many
seasoned
times.
and experienced prosecutor, correct?
I think we've established that.
Excuse me, Jim.
Yes or no?
Does he want an answer or not?
he wants to
when
say
I
no.
I want a
answer,
yes
I
or
get
no
cut off.
answer.
I think he wants the
I
same
want a
answer.
yes or no
I
answer,
can-
but
yeah, I can
I'll
explain my
live with what you
experience.
have
I'd be
already
love to
said.
explain
Let
my
me ask you.
experience.
Let me ask you this questions.
Clearly,
in
you
the
don't have any.
prosecution of sexual assault cases, you are acutely aware of how important it is to protect the identity of victims of sexual assault, correct?
I have addressed this multiple times. I think others were cutting me off when I was trying.
Oh,
I
you
just
wasn't
simply
waiting
asked,
me answer the question, so now I'm not going to answer it.
You aware of the fact that it's vitally important to protect the identity of sexual assault victims as you prosecute their, the people they accuse of assaulting them. Isn't that correct?
Excuse me. As we have said multiple times,
Protection of the
protection
identity
of all victims
of the victims
are
is
protected.
so very
Who are
important.
protected under? Do you want me to answer or do you want to interrupt?
Well, because you're not answering the question. You do a Jekyll and Hyde kind of routine around here, and I just want you to answer my questions.
What does Jekyll and Hyde mean? Can
Well,
you
it
explain
means
that?
you're nice to the
Explain that.
Republicans and you turn like Hyde on Democrats. But let me ask you this, ma'am. We have the Epstein victim survivors here today. Representative Jayapal asked a simple question.
Sorry about that, John. A couple Johns got out there giving us a bad name, yeah.
If you would be so kind and honorable as to turn around and face them and apologize to them for outing them. I mean, how many lives have been derailed because your department was either sloppy and incompetent or willfully trying to intimidate and punish these ladies
Your time
for
is
coming
up.
forward?
Time of the
Which
gentleman-
was it?
The time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman yields back. The chair now
She's so desperate to answer questions till the time runs out. Then she doesn't want to answer the question. That's crazy, right? Jennifer said, time to drain the swamp. I've started calling them twatsies. I like that. Jessica said, Pam Bondi is a... Jesus. I don't think I can say the last word. Pam Bondi is a cum-guzzling thunder bunt cake. Tessa said Bondi the Twatsy. That's back-to-back Twatsy references there. Really nice. All right, who's next?
Recognizes the gentleman from Wisconsin for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, all right.
Attorney General Bondi, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have spent the past several months attacking the administration for doing exactly what the American people wanted when they overwhelmingly elected President Trump, securing our border and enforcing our immigration laws. I find it a bit ironic because this is the same party who, just a few years ago, were openly supporting strong immigration enforcement after witnessing criminal illegal aliens wreak havoc.
Our kids.
They don't have. She has nothing to do with border enforcement. She's the department. She runs the DOJ. So this is just an opportunity for them. They rolled an ad there. I could see of Democrats supporting deportations, which has nothing to do with her.
From the influx of drugs that were flowing into this country from Mexico, the fentanyl precursors that were coming from China. Absolutely.
Yeah, good. That in and of itself tells you why how wrong it was.
Thanks, Patrick. I've spent a lot of time with your dad, and he pays very well. That's where I learned to do that.
Here now recognizes the gentleman from California.
Great, thank you. Madam Attorney General, you acknowledged earlier to Mr. Johnson that President Trump was mentioned and
Deborah,
released countless times.
Sorry.
You said
Draco's
in the Epstein
Rose
files.
says, "Make MAGA big mad." They're big mad all the time. They wake up big mad. Alfredo said Bondi is like Trump's dumpster. Jesus Christ, you guys are brutal today.
I just want to play a video, though, for you that I think speaks to the frustration that many of these victims have. Of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not
the
released
number at least
anyone's
be 1,000
name
times.
we have not released anyone's
Could it
name in the
at least
Epstein
be 1,000
files that
times?
has not been credible.
Director,
And
could it at
we have
least be 1,000
released
times?
every piece of legally permissible information.
Thanks, Shane, for the gifted subs. They're not showing up on my end, but W chat for always making me aware. Appreciate it, Shane.
Okay, you can
so-
characterize the numbers however you want
I
it.
missed one here. Amy Lynn said, Pam is 60. Is it adrenochrome or plastic? A little bit of both. And I think some, what's that? The GLP-1s. I missed this one too. Sorry, Yoga Story now. Psychological warfare, collective emotional abuse. This administration is participating in collective psychological abuse. We need to make sure we're taking care of our minds. We're being collectively traumatized. That's true. One of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow is Steve Bannon and meeting with experts at Harvard, essentially about like how to mass indoctrinate people and get to where we are now. So that's really apt and good timing for that comment too.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times. Which
It's not.
leads me-
It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number.
I understand why the victims are frustrated, and the Attorney General acknowledged what Mr. Patel would not acknowledge, that it was way more than 1,000 times. But I want to move, Madam Attorney General, to weaponization of government. And yesterday it was reported that 6 members of Congress had indictments sought against him, and they were not returned by a grand jury. My colleagues have spoken about their frustration of being in subpoenas and having cell phone records combed through. Well, in 2017 and 2018, Adam Schiff and I had our cell phone records and email records combed through, not by you, but a different Department of Justice under the president. It was in retaliation for our role in the Russia interference campaign. An Inspector General
care about
report
this.
would find this improper and that the predicate for it was absurd. In 2020, after sitting on 2 committees that were a part of the president's first impeachment, an FBI agent leaked my cooperation in a national security case where my campaign was targeted. The president's FBI senior leadership authorized 2 statements to the press that said I was never suspected of
I want
wrong.
to point something out to you, John. I just want to point something out to you real quick. You can say that the Biden administration weaponized the Department of Justice. I disagree with you, but that's okay. There's room for disagreement there. We don't really know. Neither you nor I know, but let's just assume that it is weaponized. And let's also assume that the Trump administration is weaponizing the DOJ against the Democrats. What's the main difference? convictions. That's the main difference. Republicans kept getting convicted. Democrats aren't getting convicted. In fact, you're having a hard time getting grand juries to even say like there's enough evidence for a court hearing. And this is why we say you're in a cult. Like, you can't address reality. If you want to say that all these things are vindictive prosecutions, fine. But also, let's look at the outcomes. The outcomes are Republicans keep getting caught and Republicans keep getting convicted and Democrats aren't. And again, fuck the Democrats. I don't care about the Democrats. In fact, there's only a handful of Democrats who have been convicted of crimes and Trump keeps pardoning them. You had Henry Cuellar in Texas gets convicted of improper. I think it was his was like improper benefits or like taking bribes. Basically, gets convicted. Republicans or Democrats run him out of the party, and Trump goes and pardons him. And then you have Eric Adams, the most corrupt mayor in the country, and he's a Democrat. And he gets the investigation into him dropped because Trump said, hey, if you do me a favor, I'll drop the charges. So the problem that we have here is you guys keep getting busted. And even the guilty people on the Democrat side that get in trouble, Trump keeps pardoning them and letting them off the hook. So I don't know what to tell you. It seems pretty obvious to anybody with a brain that Republicans are the ones that are committing crimes and getting busted. And Democrats, when they do, find commonplace with Donald Trump. He's just like, yeah, that's fine. You can commit crimes as a member of the government. Nobody cares.
Doing and only helped the investigation. But that didn't stop the death threats or my GOP colleagues from referring me to an ethics investigation where Kevin McCarthy's chairman on the ethics committee would find the same thing as the FBI. Our current FBI director would then write a book called Government Gangsters and identify a long list of enemies. About a quarter of them have been either investigated or indicted. He listed me at the very top, along with Adam Schiff, and during that same testimony...
With all due respect, like, what are we doing here? Why are you using your time for this? I don't know why he's using his time for this. This seems selfish.
Refused to recuse himself when asked if he would recuse if any case came across his
Kristen
desk
says you
involving
could
me
just
or
say,
people
quiet piggy,
on
I
that
could
list.
die happy. All right, I'll
Since
try that. I'll do
testimony,
quiet piggy.
his department has put me under investigation with Senator Schiff for the nonsense mortgage fraud cases that we've seen. I get it. This is what the president does. I've priced it in. We have a bingo card at home that my kids have made of what will come next. I expected that the president would come after his enemies. But what I want to talk to you next is serious. And I do not
This hearing would be unfucking tolerable without your commentary. Thanks so much for this. I appreciate that. Thank you, Christy.
expect this would happen. And I'd
Cute
like your
kitty,
help
too.
on it. The president has inspired death threats against me and many sitting up here with me. In June 2025, an individual left 11 voicemails at my district office. On the
Come
voicemails,
on,
they
man.
said, get the that he has said he will employ.
And there's something I would be happy to talk to you about off camera, but I can assure you that they are very serious. They are being looked into, and I can give you more details on
I
those.
don't mean
None of you
to
should be
diminish
threatened,
what's
ever.
happening
None of
in
your
this
children
hearing
should
with any of these representatives who've been threatened, but it feels selfish.
multiple cities.
Yeah, law. Swallow drives me nuts.
Who want to work with us. And yes, we're going to do everything we can to keep our citizens safe, whether or not these Democrat-controlled sanctuary cities do or don't.
And damn it, that's what really matters. I yield back.
Mr. Chair, I have a UC.
Is Andy Biggs chairing now? Would Jim Jordan take a break?
Ms. Crockett from Texas is recognized for UC.
Thank you so much. Donald Trump's approval rating implodes on his strongest issue. This is from Newsweek today. It says 40% of people
Thank you.
approve of
You don't
Trump's
need to
handling
read
of
the article to
immigration
us.
and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without objection,
that is a net
admitted.
drop
Now I
to
recognize the gentleman
-20.
from...
This is a new thing that Jim Jordan has started doing this time around. The reason they use these unanimous consent decree, I don't know, decree, I don't know what it's called, but they offered to put these things on the record. And what they're doing is they're trying to get their point across by entering articles into the record that show like the opposite opinion. And forever, as long as I've watched these hearings, they've been allowed to read the titles of unanimous consent. But when this time around, Jim Jordan and Republicans have started, as soon as somebody asks for something, they don't let them read the title. They say so ordered and they gavel them in. I mean, this is the most like pathetically bootlicking administration that I've ever seen in my life. and especially Andy Biggs, and it makes them mad. These are just historical norms. We've always done this. This is something that it might be silly, it might be petty, but historically you've always been able to do this. Nobody has squashed it. But these guys are so deathly afraid of information getting out that might make Trump mad, that now you want to talk about performative. Now they won't even let these unanimous consent requests be put on the record. They're just ordering them in. Nobody goes back and reads the transcripts. These unanimous consent requests are here to make a point. I think they're dumb. I don't think they should exist in the first place. But you'll notice that Republicans don't want those to be read out now.
California, Mr. Liu.
Thank you, Attorney General
Jim's back. Overactive bladder, probably.
Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because
that's a good question. Why does she keep going to immigration? We know immigration policy is a success. Epstein files is what we're going after. I mean, people are going to disagree with whether or not they think immigration policy is a success, but she also has nothing to do with immigration policy. She's not over that. She's just doing it to blow smoke up Trump's ass. They don't want to have this discussion about the Epstein files. She shouldn't be talking about immigration policy at all. It has nothing to do with her job.
you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that we,
She looks so mad
please
about
put
that.
the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up.
I do think that that's important to remind people as part of the cover-up. This memo went out in July of 2025. I think we showed it on the stream yesterday. But before we got the release of the Epstein files, the Department of Justice was actively trying to stop any of these releases from happening. They put out this memo in July of 2025, basically saying it's case closed. And then later on in what was in August when we had the discharge petition, or September, whenever that was, later on, as they tried to do the discharge petition, Pam Bondi stepped in again, and Pam Bondi tried to reopen these investigations into Ghislaine Maxwell to force the files from not being able to be released. They actively covered this up. They actively tried to stop this from happening multiple times before Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna forced that discharge petition. So, like, it's not just now. It's not like everybody was on board, and the DOJ will have you believe, oh, this is very difficult, and that's why the release is happening slowly. We're not covering it up. You have to be so fucking blind and have no memory to remember that since the pressure started earlier in 2025, since the pressure really started to build to release these files, Pam Bondi specifically and Kash Patel specifically have gone out of their way through any legal process they could find to try and make sure that these files were never seen. That's who's testifying today. It's important to remember that.
These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime.
Angus, let me address this too. You've said this a million times, no incriminating pictures of Trump. Let me be very clear. My criticism of Donald Trump in what we're talking about today is that he and his Department of Justice is covering this up. They're actively suppressing it. There are accusations against Donald Trump that are horrific, in the Epstein files, and I believe they should be investigated. You probably don't, because you don't think Trump should ever be investigated for anything. But like, it is pathetic to watch you say this shit over and over and over again. They're covering this shit up. And they're covering it up, and it's not just about the victims here. It's also about power structures and the ability for the elite and the wealthy to get away with whatever they want. And not everything in the Epstein files. In fact, most of the stuff in the Epstein files doesn't relate to the trafficking and abuse of women and children. Most of it doesn't. But there's a ton of stuff in there that shows how corrupt our government is and how they work corruptly with other foreign governments. The Epstein files is massive, which is why every other country takes it seriously. But lucky for us, we got dipshits like you who are so in love with Donald Trump that you will just close your eyes and try the grossest, most disgusting defenses of Donald Trump. Like, oh, there's not a picture exactly like this of Trump, therefore we don't care. If there's no pictures like this of Trump, then tell Trump to release all the files. Tell Pam Bondi to release all the files. If you're not worried about any of this incriminating Trump, then why are you guys actively demanding that the files not be released?
And more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions.
Oh my God, Jesus fucking Christ. Every time. I didn't ask Merrick Garland. Every fucking time. Deflect.
When he was Attorney General and set before
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I
question.
answer your question about protecting
You
Prince
answered the
Andrew?
question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's a video.
They didn't seem to like or know each other very well.
For Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous. And that they are
It hurts me. It hurts. The silence and all she could come up with, this is so ridiculous. That's an easy question. Yes or no? This is so ridiculous that you would have the audacity to ask me questions. Jesus Christ, you guys can't get somebody better than this?
trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those
Let her answer. She doesn't answer. She just jumps on that Donald Trump dick and rides it again. Dude, this is pathetic on a world stage. Like, the world's watching this. The world is laughing at us like we laugh at North Korea. Nobody with any sort of open mind's looking at this and going, oh yeah, that's a totally reasonable answer. This is, for somebody who was raised in a cult, this is jarring for me. Like, born and raised in a legitimate cult, jarring for me. It's pathetically revealing. It's obvious. There's no sort of facade that makes any sense here. Every time she's asked a tough question, she gets outraged and says, "How dare you criticize or dare to question our Lord and Savior, Donald Trump?" This is rough. This is worse. It's worse than I thought, honestly. She doesn't even seem to have good prepared statements here.
I reclaim my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Mr.
Chairman, please
I'd like
stop
to
the clock.
reclaim my
Please
time.
stop the clock.
The legislation. This is
Time.
this
I'd like
is
to reclaim
ridiculous.
my time.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a
I
crime.
believe you just lied.
How dare you? Shut the fuck up. Quiet piggy. Don't talk. That's not better. That made it worse. Jesus fucking Christ. Don't you ever. Well, he did.
Under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was gonna stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide.
Sounds like evidence to me. That's evidence. Is it a conviction? No. Certainly is evidence. She just lied. Law of the wild. Is that perjury? Is there enough there for that to be perjury? Thanks for being here, by the way. I appreciate you being here today. It's nice to know that there's intelligence in the chat. Not to say that everybody else isn't intelligence. I just really respect law. Eric said, "Come on, Trump doesn't have a dick. It's a pee-pee." Check here. Yeah, I phrased that bad. If she knew it was false, yes. Okay. So her defense would have to be, I assume, that she didn't know that was there. Thank you.
No one.
Probably hard to prove that, right? Because she could just say, "I didn't know. I haven't read everything."
No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell. So should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing
Time of the
concludes.
gentleman has expired.
There's going to be calls. Don's not going to be happy about this one.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a
respond,
question,
but
Ms.
he
Head.
doesn't
You're
want
allowed
to talk
to.
about
I did
the
not ask a
horrific
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his
She
state.
can't just
Madam
ad
Attorney
lib
General.
stuff. I did not ask a
Donald Trump.
question.
Meeting will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his time. I think our next witness will be more than happy to.
Oh, she forgot about the binder. She's like, "Oh, fuck, I was supposed to smear him. I forgot. I accidentally asked a question. I meant to smear him. Fuck."
Let the Attorney General.
Madam
respond.
Attorney General, would you like to?
Gentleman from Alabama is recognized for 5 minutes.
You have a few minutes to respond.
Thank you, Congressman. This is what Congressman Liu didn't want to talk about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome.
Oh, did it skip? Did it skip there? Oh, damn. I bet she had something really good to say there.
Ms. A.G. Bondi. I agree with you. Our top priority should be protecting Americans. In my past life in the California State Legislature, I did a lot of work on solving sex crimes, passing legislation to update our codes. And I found that the biggest challenge to solving sex crimes is reporting them. Victims have to have the guts to stand up to report those sex crimes. But it's not easy.
Chapman, nobody gives a fuck about fraud and crime in California right now. We're talking about trafficking women and children. And so go fuck yourself. Okay, we could talk about that another time. Right now, we're talking about none of that would have anything to do with Pam Bondi. But right now, we're talking about Pam Bondi covering up the Epstein files, and it's not. I'm gonna guess, just gonna shot in the dark, white dude, white Christian conservative dude. I'm gonna guess that's who Chapman is. White Christian conservative dude that doesn't care about women being abused. And what about the fraud in California? Want to know something cool about the fraud in California? They are underrepresented. So when you take the amount that it's alleged that they have of fraud, so you take the total dollar amount of fraud in California, it makes up about like 9% of the fraud, but they're 12% of the money going in. So they're actually underrepresented. If you do a comparison, if you go to Arkansas or Louisiana or Alabama, they're overrepresented in their fraud. It just so happens that California is the 4th largest economy in the world, so their numbers look bigger because there's more people, so the number itself is bigger. But per capita, they commit fraud at much lower rates than red states. You should look into that.
Most unreported sex crime there is. Crime there is sex crimes. It's painful, humiliating. A lot of time the victims don't think anything's going to come out of their reporting these crimes. Then we have adults who as children were molested, boys and girls who will live in silence for the rest of their life. I believe the Epstein files are just one of many sex rings, sex crimes taking place in our society today. I hear 1,200 Epstein victims, some additional victims as young as 9 to 10 years old. The challenge I have today, what bothers me today about this hearing, Madam AG, is what's the message we're sending out there on Main Street? Shouldn't ask a question I don't know an answer to, but I'm going to ask the victims behind you right now. First, can you please stand up? And then, can you please raise your hand if you think after everything you've heard today, you feel that our AG, the feds, have your back? Do we have?
I hope they covered this with the victims before they forced them to stand and raise their hand. I hope there was some sort of discussion about this first. I hope they're not just openly using them as props outside of consent. I don't love this unless this was part of something they discussed earlier.
Your back. Raise your hand if you're confident that we got your back. And that's the issue, Madam AG. We've got to make sure that victims stand up and report the crimes. Otherwise, we're going to be taking a step backwards. Today, AI, cyber, social media, the new realm for people to be hurt, attacked sexually. These are the areas I'd welcome the opportunity to work with you on. It's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's our problem. But to have redacted files that are not showing us the names of these predators is wrong. These are very powerful people. This was a very expensive business, and we don't know who they are. I would imagine they're very prominent Republicans, very Republican Democrats, and we are covering up for them. We got to know what's going on out there, Madam AG. It looks like you want to say something. I'm going to give the opportunity to.
John said, I'm in for chemo. Oh, this is Johnny. I'm in for chemo this week. Wish I could do more. Keep fighting the good fight. Love what you're doing. Love you, Johnny. I know those chemo treatments are a motherfucker and they zap you of all your energy. So appreciate you being here. And as always, whoop cancer's ass, buddy.
Address my statement.
I look forward to working with you on any crimes involving child sex predators, children, and also cyber crimes. That is a tremendous problem now throughout our country. AI, you are correct. AI is causing.
Nick said, this guy doing this podcast is such a soft, weak little man. Wrong use of the word weak there. That's like a week, like 7 days. And I was not soft when I was deep inside your father last night. So I don't know what to do about that.
Great problems online regarding, we're working on that though. AI is an incredible tool, but it also can be fraught with peril with victims of crime. I've experienced that with someone I know who we've been trying to help. I look forward, though, to working with you on that and all
Madam,
cyber crimes. Can I?
Please, go ahead.
And as I said before, to any victims, we ask them to come forward to our office, and we want to work with them.
They're behind you, and they all raised their hand and said, you haven't spoken to any of them. You don't get to now be like, we're here for all victims. They raised their hands. You haven't spoken to any of them. To be honest, I do not understand how Pam Bondi is possible. For the life of me, I can't understand internally what goes on when a person lies to this degree. She knows that that's not true. The victims are right there. What's so fucking hard to stomach is that all of this entire cover-up, this unwillingness to help these victims is loyalty to one human being. Just a guy. I think he's a sick fuck. You think he's your Lord and Savior. Whatever it is. These people have become liars and enablers of crimes that I would think that all Americans could agree are heinous and we should never actively cover up. We should always investigate. And the only reason we're getting this pushback today is because of loyalty to Donald Trump. It doesn't feel real. Like I've never been more open to the idea of a simulation theory. Like it feels like this administration is put there to to stretch the boundaries of the human's ability to live in reality. Somebody had mentioned that earlier. Who was that? I want to go back to that comment for the super chat. It was Yoga Story Now said psychological warfare, collective emotional abuse. This administration is participating in collective psychological abuse. We need to make sure we're taking care of minds. We're being collectively traumatized. That's exactly what this is. Because for anybody who's not in the cult, this is so fucking obvious. How the fuck can you say this in front of these people? We're here for the victims. Any victims, we're here to help you. No, the fuck you're not. That's what this hearing is for. And then we check the chat, and the chat's like, yeah, that's right. So fuck you, Democrats. It is psychological warfare. It does feel like an attack on our minds. I know that everybody's going through some shit. Like in my personal life, I've dealt with some shit in the last month, and I got to tell you that showing up every day to Crazyville while you're having personal shit going on is a fucking nightmare. But you also, if you are entering this world, you also can't leave because you feel like you're quitting and you're leaving everybody else out and you're letting everybody down. It's easy to walk away and just turn a blind eye to this, but for those that show up every day, there's a reason for that. It's not because you want to show up. It's not because this is fun. I miss the days of discussing policy. Those days have been gone for a long time. But yeah, it is abuse. It's that was one of the smartest super chats I've ever got. It's collective emotional abuse. And I appreciate those of you who do show up every day. And just know that whatever role you play, it makes a difference. However far your voice can reach, that makes a difference. Maybe your voice reaches one person. Maybe it reaches 20 million people or somewhere in between. But that matters. Because the counteraction to collective emotional abuse is collective emotional support. And that's what I appreciate about this audience specifically, is that you show up for each other. You get outraged together. You stand up for the right things together. And I think that matters. I think for a lot of people, this may be a place of refuge. And I appreciate you guys for creating that environment for each other.
I have never.
Sorry, Clownmeat said, Fair Game 2026, look it up. You're a weirdo. Stop sucking the government. Guy Fox said, Trump is definitely holding a future pardon over her head. Oh, 100%. Marianne, thank you very much. Thanks, Catgate, for the gifted subs as well. Amy Lynn said, Florida has the highest amount of fraud, so her question was just partisan. True.
Not worked with a victim, and I believe I've actually spoken to several of
Thanks,
them.
Damien, for joining the $2 train.
I only have a minute.
Behind me.
If I can reclaim my time. I just think we start out by making sure those redactions are unredacted, those Epstein files, to make sure that the public, according to the law, following the law, that those names in those files are made public. We have to make sure we tell those predators there is no place for them to hide, and if they commit the crime, they're gonna fry for it. It starts with showing us the names of the perpetrators in the Epstein files.
May I respond to that?
Sure.
Okay. So if any man's name was redacted that should not have been, we will, of course, unredact it.
But what we want to know, and what's so frustrating about this today, is can you please just explain to us why it was redacted? That's what we need to know. Like, there are millions of documents. I think it is entirely fair to give the DOJ some grace that they are going to make some mistakes in the redaction process. That's fair. But we should have an answer for that. And some of these things, it's pretty fucking obvious why it was redacted. So we just want explanations, and that's what we're not getting from Pam Bondi today, is an explanation as to why. What she wants to be able to do is redact things, and then when they get caught, just saying, oh, we'll change it now. We need to know why. We need to know what the processes are. Like, are you all incompetent? Are you covering up things on purpose? How is it that we were told Trump's name was in there like 4,000 times and now it's like a million? It's just under a million. We just want to know answers to these questions. If your answer is incompetence, or if your answer is understaffing, fine, give us an answer. But she doesn't give any answers. She just attacks back.
A victim's name was unredacted, please bring it to us and we will redact it. We were given 30 days to review and redact and unredact.
And you missed that timeline by like an extra 3 weeks. So you didn't do it in 30 days. So that's not a very good excuse.
Millions of pages of documents. Our error rate is very low, but there are
victims are
always
right behind you. We've got to convince them
that
we're doing a good job
everything we can to help the victims. We will do everything we can.
Chair, I'm out of time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. Kiley, is recognized.
Oh, good. I was
Thank
waiting.
you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Madam Attorney General. I wanted to return to a point that the chairman raised at the beginning of this hearing, which is these jurisdictions that refuse to honor detainer requests from Immigration and Customs Enforcement often.
Oh, good.
On September
More questions about shit she's not in charge of. Great.
25th,
Oh, damn, he's done. That's fast.
President Trump signed a memorandum known as NSPM 7, purporting to address domestic terrorism. But Americans across the political spectrum were immediately alarmed by the memo's blur.
Does she not realize she's being set up to fall for this? I don't even know if she is. I mean, I don't think they're that competent, honestly. I think they've just been desperately trying everything. And I don't think they were counting on Democrats to unite around this. I don't think they were counting on people like Thomas Massie. I don't think they were counting on the American people to turn. I think Trump overestimated how much power he had. And that when he said, let's just not talk about it anymore, I think he thought people would just stop talking about it. Now, there are some cucky little fucks that are in this chat that took Donald Trump's instruction. Let's not talk about it anymore. But most of the country didn't, and the whole world didn't. And I think what was exposed is an arrogance by this administration that they thought they could just Jedi mind trick us from talking about it ever again. And it didn't work out. Danielle said she was asked about T being in a million times. I don't think they've asked her about that yet. I can't remember.
Of the line between unlawful conduct and constitutionally protected speech and activity.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks. Lou said they redacted the word don't, Don T. I've heard that. I don't know if that's been confirmed. It probably has, because a bunch of you have brought that to my attention, but I haven't come across that yet.
As its call to investigate, prosecute, and dismantle groups that the president and Stephen Miller described without evidence as, quote, an organized campaign of radical left terrorism. Now, counterterrorism experts were further alarmed by the administration's singular
Okay, I believe you guys it was confirmed. I just haven't, it's hard for me. I usually don't like to say something's confirmed until I've seen, but I believe you.
focus on left-wing extremism, combined with the sudden deletion from the DOJ website of decades of research and law enforcement analysis which had concluded that right-wing extremism poses the greatest terrorism threat to Americans. The president's memo broadly and vaguely links violent conduct to ideologies, and it targeted specifically anti-American, anti-Christian, and anti-capitalist beliefs, as well as, quote, hostility to so-called traditional American views on family, religion, and morality, end quote. President Trump has repeatedly and openly, however falsely, tried to brand his political opponents with these sentiments listed in his memo. But as you know, as a lawyer, holding...
Sorry, guys. You know how this goes. James Scally can't watch anymore because I keep interrupting. 10 seconds of silence for James. I hope you learned your lesson, James. Don't be a bitch. Kim said, Twitch has a pool going where we're committing to send at least a $5 campaign contribution to the first congressperson to yell, shut the fuck up at Pam. Please invite YouTube to join. I love that. John said, Gallup polling just announced they're no longer going. John, that cuts off. Will you send the rest of that message to Jen? Shannon said, I appreciate you for showing up every day. I hope whatever you're going through gets resolved soon. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Beliefs that the White House disagrees with is not a crime. And the statute defining domestic terrorism requires criminal acts, not just thoughts and ideas. That's why legal experts, nonprofit leaders, religious freedom, and civil rights advocates immediately raised the alarm that the new presidential directive was a politically motivated attack on civil society designed to silence those who disagree with the administration. So, Ms. Bondi, Section 3 of that memo directed you, as Attorney General, to submit to the President and Stephen Miller a list of groups or entities whose members are engaged in acts that meet the definition of domestic terrorism. And then...
Not related. I don't mind this one. I do think this one's actually important.
On December 4th, you directed the FBI to work with a variety of law enforcement entities to compile a list of groups and entities engaged in such acts by January 3rd, 2026, and to update that report every 30 days thereafter. So can we assume that you or persons under your direction at the Department of Justice have prepared that list of groups or entities who are designated as domestic terrorist organizations? And I just remind you, that's a yes or no question. Did you prepare the list?
I'm not going to answer it yes or no, but what I will say is I know Antifa is part of that. I will talk to you about that.
I'm reclaiming my time. I asked you whether you
an
prepared
Antifa member
a
was
list.
arrested in Minneapolis
I'm
federal
reclaiming
court for
my
cyber
time.
stalking.
Did you
they
have
ask a question
list?
and don't want an answer.
The answer is yes or no.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Pennsylvania. Gentlelady can proceed.
Greg says, maybe it's time to rethink what you can do on Fifth Avenue and get away with. True. Clown Meat, thank you for the super chat. There she goes, not answering the question again. Can we, yes or no, do you have a list? I'm not going to answer that question and then gets mad.
Okay. So will you commit to providing this committee with any list of organizations that you have recommended be designated as domestic terrorist organizations?
We will comply with the law in all matters.
Jesus Christ.
Will you commit to provide this committee with your list of entities that you recommend be designated as domestic terrorist organizations?
I'm not going to commit to anything to you because you won't let me
Yeah, because you have oversight. Actually, let's let this answer go out.
answer questions.
Okay. Well,
That's not how this works, you stupid fucking... That's not how it works. You are required by the Constitution of the United States to respond to oversight requests from this is the Justice Committee. You're required. You don't get to get your fifis hurt and not comply. This is why we call you fascist, and this is why we call you bitches. I'm not going to do anything that I'm legally required to do because you won't let me say whatever the fuck I want. House Judiciary, that's what I was looking for. Words got jumbled. This is House Judiciary. They have oversight over her. She's required to give that information to them. Will you provide us the information that you are lawfully required to give us? No, because you're not letting me say whatever I want. Bunch of fucking children running this country. Clown Meat said, getting fourth place today. Nina, 1690, thank you. And another super chat. Appreciate that very much. Did I miss one here? Oh, there it is. Gallup polling just announced they're no longer going to do presidential approval after 88 years of doing so. What the fuck? Thoughts on this? Why? My first thought is, what the fuck? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Did they give an explanation?
Well, then we do understand that your current position is that you have a secret list of people or groups that you are accusing of domestic terrorism, but you won't share it with Congress. And I'd remind you that when the U.S. government designates an entity as a...
Am I able to say Biden dropped the ball on releasing the files, Jail Read? I said that earlier, but yeah. So look, the files were not able to be released until 2023-ish. I don't know the exact date, but because of Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, a lot of this stuff couldn't be released because there was an open investigation. But once that was done, yes, Merrick Garland and Joe Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans who controlled the House all dropped the ball. But yes, they all dropped the ball. And then in this administration, the Republicans dropped the ball and the administration dropped the ball, and the Democrats were the ones who stood up and fought for this. So everybody's responsible for it not being released earlier than when it was. Everybody who had this ability to to either push for it to be released or release it. So that's Biden, that's Merrick Garland, that's the Democrats in Congress, that's the Republicans in Congress. But when we finally had an opportunity to release it, and this is where I'm going to ask you now to be honest, I said yes, dude. Yes. I've already said yes, Biden dropped the ball. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Why did the Republicans try to not release the files? That's what I'd like to know. I answered your question, you answer mine now. Why is this administration not releasing the files when they're lawfully required to do it? We get an answer there? They're letting that. No, it's not my question. See now, don't do this. That's not my question. My question is, why did they actively try and prevent the files from being released? See, now you're being silly. Now you're running from the question. You're being like her. You asked me to be transparent. I'll give you a transparent answer, and then you're going to run from this shit? No, you answer. Why did the Republicans try and cover this up? Why did the Trump administration say that if you vote to release the files, we will view that as an act of what was it? An act of not insubordination. I forgot what they said. What it was. My guess is so many people are in them that would be bad for the whole country. See, you're cowardly. Can you admit that it was the Republicans that covered it up? Can you admit that it was only Republicans who delayed the release of these files? How about that? Hostility. Thank you, guys. An act of hostility. One more try here. Can you admit that it was Donald Trump and the Republicans who actively tried to stop the release of these files? Don't say everybody's involved. You're going to get booted. Like, I'm going to boot you from this. I stopped the whole thing for you. I stopped this whole thing for you. Can you admit that it was the Republicans? No? All right, see you later. Get rid of JL Reid. Fucking see, this is every time you guys beg for attention, I answer honestly, and then you fucking pussies. Why are you so fucking afraid of Donald Trump? You absolute fucking cowards, man. Every fucking time. No, it's them alone. They were the only ones. 100% of Democrats voted to release it. I will give you one more chance. Understanding that 100% of Democrats voted for the discharge petition. From the very beginning, they did 8 different votes. 100% of the Democrats voted for it. Only 4 Republicans voted for it, then 5, then 6. Can you admit that 100% of Democrats voted for it to be released and not Republicans? Last chance. Then we got to get rid of you. Watch this. Excuses. Come on, bub. I don't want to keep this paused forever, but it does seem like you don't have many principles here. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. The next time he, if you guys didn't already get him, next time it's like what is it, Jay Lee, I think, or something like that. Next time he speaks, just get rid of him. I probably ran though. That's my guess. See how they do that?
Terrorist organization, it must report that to Congress and to the entity, because the government can make a mistake and the entity has the opportunity to contest it. So your position seems to be that if you falsely designate an American or an American organization as a terrorist group, there's nothing they can do about it. I think we get it. You don't want to answer the
No,
question.
you don't get anything regarding public safety.
Thank you.
Nothing.
Thank you for the insult. It's clear you didn't come to Congress prepared to answer questions that the American people have every right to have answered. But if you were to prepared to answer truthfully, here's what we expect the fact.
Thanks, Tommy. I had to wait till the W was done. J.L. Reed, I think. So mods, look for J.L. Reed, and if any comments come up, they're gone. We don't. You can criticize me. You can ask me questions. You can do all sorts of things. What you can't do is be a coward.
To show. The administration is keeping lists of Americans who the White House says are engaged in domestic terrorism. Those lists could include Americans who have not committed any acts of terrorism, but simply disagree with this administration, people like Renee Good and Alex Pretti. And your list may include clergy, elected officials, and members of indivisible groups across the country. And those lists likely don't include Proud Boys or Oath Keepers who were actually convicted. Americans have never tolerated political demagogues who use the government to punish people on an enemies list. It brought down McCarthy, it brought down Nixon, and it will bring down this administration as well.
And you're right.
I agree with that. Couple messages here. Lee said, thanks for the flashlight and hand holding while we all trudge through the sludge together. Happy to be here. Happy to be part of this with you guys. Janelle said, don't be afraid or feel bad for calling a bitch a bitch. Jesus fucking Christ, she is a fucking bitch. It's just my own principle. It's a line I don't want to cross. And occasionally I slip, but I don't ever want to get in the habit of calling women bitches. I haven't. And something that I hope for the rest of my life, I hold that standard. So
That's why we're so glad they rescinded the
That's
memorandum.
right.
Your filthy language exposes your intelligence. Suck my dick. Every study says that people who swear more are generally more intelligent. So eat my asshole on your way out.
Targeting parents. For goodness sake, as the gentleman from California just pointed out in his 5 minutes, the gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5
May I
minutes.
respond very briefly to her statement?
Well, I think we can do that
Okay.
probably on
Next-
one of our members' time.
Okay, thank you. I don't want that to get away. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have
Gotta be. An honest Republican. This is what we were here for. Notice nobody wants to sit by Thomas Massey.
3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive
Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Ariel's mom. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Sometimes they make me mad, and I know that if I say the worst thing, it makes them more mad. I apologize to the moms in here.
of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer.
No, not come on. He already said that. Like, this is, it doesn't matter. He wants to know why this didn't get redacted. You don't get to say, well, we redacted some of the names. He already covered that.
We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody was
After Massey brought it to their attention. They didn't catch it. Massey brought it to their attention.
trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Mr.
Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time?
Exactly.
Mr. Chair.
Listen, dummy, it's exactly how it fucking works. It's their time. When they say reclaim my time, you shut the fuck up. It's exactly how it works. I've always said this, but like MAGA, the one thing that destroys MAGA is not letting them tell a fucking story. Force them to answer questions and force them to use data, and they fall the fuck apart. If they can't construct a narrative, they can't get their point across because it's all a fugazi. It's all bullshit. It's all narrative driven. It's all feelings. It's all vibes. They have no ability to defend their actions or even narrate what they would like to do for this country without a story. Force them to answer questions and they fall apart, and you're watching it here in real time. She wants to, instead of answering the question, she wants to talk about all the other things that they did that she believes they did well. Sorry, we're not your cheerleaders. Congress isn't your cheerleaders. They have oversight. They're not there to wipe your ass. They're not there to give you a little boost. They're there to ask you questions. And if you can't sit there and answer questions, perhaps you're not qualified for this job.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So
Yes.
I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman,
Because
may
I
I
have
give my
another
answer
question.
on that?
No. Why do you keep asking?
It's a political
the question.
joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his
Chairman,
next question.
it's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question.
You can give
Within
me-
40 minutes.
Oh, now Jim Jordan is just breaking the rules. Now he's just breaking the rules. Whoever has the time controls the time. They are not obligated to let a witness drown on. They're covering for the pedophiles. This is what Jim Jordan does. It's probably the thing Jim Jordan's best at, is covering for sexual abuse. So it's what got him elected into office, I think.
Minutes. Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed. There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a
4,700,
co-conspirator.
and we invited you
Show the
in.
video.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to. You're a failed
He
politician.
wanted
You need to
Epstein
get
to
on
want you to
things
watch
that
the
matter.
video.
The chairman
Now the personal attacks. Trump. This guy got Trump derangement syndrome. He's a failed politician. This is pathetic. This is absolutely fucking pathetic. It's alarmingly stupid. We look so goddamn dumb and so goddamn corrupt. The world is watching this. The world's watching Pam Bondi. I'm really interested at the end of this to see the reaction on Twitter and across media, because my prediction is that a lot of prominent Republican adjacent people will be calling for Pam Bondi to lose her job.
Please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them.
Except for every victim there that stood and raised their hand and said, "We have come forward and you have not spoken to us." You can say that till you're blue in the face, Pam, which might be a welcome sight for a lot of people, but we already know the victims are right behind you. They all said that that's bullshit.
1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years?
Jesus
Did
Christ.
you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my
at all the
time.
last
I'm
4
glad you're
years?
asking
About the 85th time she's just deflected with that same exact thing.
about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because this
time when
is
you don't-
bigger than
when you can't-
Watergate.
when I don't answer a question the
This
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to
most
know at
transparent-
what point did the FBI and the DOJ?
That's a great, by the way, great fucking response by Massey. And this is where, like, I have so much respect for Thomas Massey. As a person who has pretty opposite views of me on politics, I have a great deal of respect for him. For one, not taking the bait there, and two, like, being honest. Yes, this should, like, we can go back decades. Everybody should have been questioned about this. That's fine. We all admit that. But we're asking you about the part that you're playing. That's it. We're only asking you about your part. We're not asking you about Merrick Garland. Perhaps if they want to subpoena Merrick Garland, they can subpoena Merrick Garland. If they want to try and subpoena Joe Biden or members of that administration, they can certainly subpoena those people and bring them in. But Pam Bondi is responsible for what Pam Bondi's doing. What's up, Jen?
Is JL Reed going? He's been in the comments. I sent you some of his chats. He's still in there chirping.
Oh, yeah. Get him 24 hours. He's done. He's a coward. Yeah. No. Get rid of that guy. All right. Thank you.
Side that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator, because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has
Which,
expired.
may she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
You're covering up the Epstein files, you evil fucking monster. Well, he did a bad thing too. Fine. I don't know his reason for voting against that. I have no idea. Just because somebody else did something shitty doesn't mean that you didn't do something shitty. But these are supposed to be the adults in the room. This is the most pathetic testimony I've ever, and we've seen some pathetic testimony. This one is by far the most pathetic we've seen so far from this administration.
The gentleman's time has expired.
She didn't answer the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, I would,
order.
Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering,
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's questions, Republican, Democrat.
All right, I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right, this is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted, even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures.
So Massey, I looked this up. Massey opposed the Take It Down Act, and his whatever you wanted, he said he opposed it because he saw it as a slippery slope ripe for abuse with unintended consequences. He highlighted that it imposes federal criminal and civil penalties for publishing unauthorized AI-generated intimate pictures without allowing amendments in House rules. So people trying to clarify the language were not allowed to add any sort of amendments to make sure that anybody who was not reposting this type of stuff wouldn't be caught up because of vague language. That criticism was shared by the ACLU, the EFF, the Future of Free Speech. They said that the bill threatens free speech, privacy, and encryption by forcing platforms to remove content quickly based on vague standards. They needed the standards to be more clear. They worried about over removal of content that is legal, censorship tools for politicians, and automated filters flagging protected speech like parodies or news. And a lot of people have kind of thought that that was the idea behind this bill, and the vagueness of this bill is to allow the government to take down AI-generated stuff that they didn't like. So,
Pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from AG Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you, because they're still redacting files.
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent.
We need a law for a mute button for stuff like this.
Document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection. Just want to check on how much time we have left in votes, but one thing I've learned here of late that they'll wait on us. How much time do we have? Oh, they just called. Okay. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by saying I appreciate what you said, Attorney General Bondi, and you said it to me personally, that you take the personal security of every member of Congress seriously, and that people can contact you about that. And in these times, that's a very serious matter. So I thank you for that. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution is the Domestic Emoluments Clause. And it says that the president is limited to his salary in office and cannot...
Oh, good. I'm glad they're bringing this up. This isn't going to be Epstein related, but it sounds like Raskin's about to bring up the fact that Donald Trump is in clear violation of the Emoluments Clause. He's made billions of dollars as president, using his influence as president to solicit investments into his companies that he has benefited from handsomely.
...receive any other money from the federal government while he's in office. It cannot be increased by $1. This president is the first president in U.S. history who has repeatedly sued the federal government for $230 million for the judicial search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, which was perfectly lawful and was never struck down. But now he's suing the IRS for $10 billion. He's suing the IRS for $10 billion, which
the IRS lawsuit? Oh, damn. I was hoping he was going through the other stuff, but this is still important.
I think it's around 80% of its annual budget, because his tax returns were leaked, and they were illegally leaked by a private contractor who actually is in prison now, Charles Littlejohn, but he wants $10 billion. Now, well, I want to ask you the question of whether you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for you to settle that.
Jordan knows he needs to stay on Bondi's good side so she doesn't come for him when Sasha comes forward and tells what Jordan did to him when he was 11. Yeah, probably Danielle, but also like Jim Jordan's just a scumbag piece of shit. And even if there was nothing for him to worry about, he would still do this because he's always done this. He's always covered up for sexual abusers. It seems to be something that he's a fan of.
$10 billion case or any of the other claims that the president has made against the government. He himself has remarked, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the deal, right? And he says, I kind of have to work it out with myself. Do you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for the president to work out a deal from people who are his subordinates under his unitary executive theory to get money in one of these cases?
I'm not going to discuss pending litigation.
Okay, so theoretically, you're saying because his privacy rights were violated in that tax case, and they were. I'm with the president on that. I mean, his Mar-a-Lago thing is ridiculous, but there's no doubt that his tax returns, despite the fact that he promised to release them, despite the fact that every other president released the tax returns, he suffered embarrassment when it showed that he hadn't paid taxes for several years, and he had a right for that not to happen. Now, I want to turn back to the Epstein survivors, because President Trump may have been a little bit embarrassed by the release of those.
One thing I just want to add before, as he makes this pivot, if what happened to Donald Trump, which is his tax returns got leaked, and he gets $10 billion from that, if we are to say that is that is what you get if the IRS leaks your tax returns, there's 440,000 Americans whose IRS returns and information was subject to a leak. That would mean $10 billion for each one of those people. That would bankrupt our country. So if we set this precedent that Trump gets $10 billion for this lawsuit, we're in a world of trouble, because there's 440,000 Americans who then can file the exact same lawsuit. And if Trump's claim to get these damages, if they just settle it out of court, like, we're in a lot of trouble here.
Tax returns. How much do you think the claims of these survivors are worth? As the good congressman from Kentucky just pointed out, there were lots of survivors who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law that their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information. If Donald Trump can get $10 billion theoretically from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives?
Do you even know who Chase Mulligan is? You're so obsessed with, you don't, do you?
I'm going to teach you the rules again. You're the Attorney General of the United States. We have rules here.
You're obsessed with him.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
You're obsessed with Donald Trump. You have Trump derangement syndrome.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like my time
Mulligan will be
restored. I'd like my time restored.
In your district. In your district, and you don't even know about it, about keeping children safe from online predators.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Maryland.
She's a mess.
Yeah, and I want the whole country to look at this, because this is the Attorney General of the United States, whose job is law enforcement. We've never had a witness who has misunderstood our rules and been unable to conform his or her conduct to our rules before. We have only 5 minutes, and so we use our time to ask you specific questions.
How long are you giving me to answer?
Excuse me, I'm not yielding to you right now. I'd like that second restored too. So, Ms. Bondi, the way it
Well, that would
works—
have been a good time for shut the fuck up. That would have been the perfect time.
is we ask you a question and you answer it, and if you go off on a wild goose chase, another tangent, you start reading statistics or you start talking about stuff going on in our district, and by the way, I invite you to my district, come to my district, but that's not what we're here to do today, okay? So, and you do that, then we're allowed to say we reclaim our time. At that point, you have to be quiet. You have no choice. You have to be quiet. So I hope you understand the rule at this point. Now, here's what I want to ask you. You're in law enforcement. We've seen all kinds of evidence of crimes. And when we go over to the Department of Justice for the 4 computers for every member of Congress, we see more evidence of crimes. Will you create a joint task force of the Department of Justice and governors and state attorney generals and district attorneys across the country to investigate the crimes that have taken place against these victims and more than 1,000 like them? The DOJ is not doing its job. Will you create a task force with state and local law enforcement to make that happen?
Gentlelady can respond if she wants to.
Thank you, Chairman. He called Chase Mulligan a wild goose chase and
Jesus
didn't
fucking Christ. You just can't, MAGA. You can't defend this. Please don't. You're going to look fucking pathetic. How can she not answer that question? Are you willing to set up task forces or a task force in each state to make sure that these victims are heard and that their claims are investigated. He doesn't want to talk about Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. By the way, mods, feel free to mute everybody who does this both sidesism shit. Buffy, I'm looking at you. Right and left is BS. Like, we don't do that shit here. This isn't about both sides right now. It's not like, and if you're doing that, it's a pathetic fucking take, and you're just as bad as Pam Bondi is, refusing to address the reality that our government, and it's only the Republicans right now, are covering up the Epstein files. So you don't get to come in and play both sides in this live. It's the one thing I hate more than anything. I hate cowardice. Either have an opinion or don't, but this opinion that everybody is just bad and everybody else is brainwashed is fucking stupid when this is obvious. There's one group of people covering it up, one group of people demanding that it not be covered up. You can say sometimes that they're both sides, but on this issue, if you're a both sides person, we have no use for you here. Go find someplace else. Mods, you have every right. This is the only warning. You have every right to mute anybody playing both sides today. This is not the live for you. I don't care that much about like the number of views. We don't get ad revenue anyway, so who the fuck cares? But we don't do that here. You take a position on what we're talking about, or be quiet and listen, but none of this both sides shit.
Know who he was. He is a defendant in your own
Chairman,
district who preyed on girls.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, you know what? If he were part of the Epstein investigation, you wouldn't do anything about it.
Online chat rooms and committed sextortion. Yet he didn't even know in your tiny little district who he was.
Mr. Chairman, she's embarrassing you.
He's about to be
This is your committee.
I'd like to point out one other thing. Jamie Raskin, there's no reason that Jamie Raskin should know about criminals in his district, because his job as a representative, as a member of Congress, is to represent his people on the federal level. He is not, none of these people need to be aware of the individual crimes in their district. They don't do anything. They have nothing to do with that. That is local government. He has no ability to influence that. His job is to represent his people at a federal level for federal things that the federal government has authority over. This smear is pathetic. It's nonsense. He can't do anything about it, and she's only doing it so that she doesn't have to answer his questions. I do think that, like, maybe at the end of this, like when Trump is gone, perhaps we strip some freedoms away from all Americans and force everybody to go take a basic fucking civics class to understand what these people do. Because it seems to me that there are millions of Americans who have no fucking clue what the difference is between a senator, a member of Congress, a member of the executive branch, a judge, a state legislator, a municipality legislator, a local legislator. Like, it seems like you guys don't know what anybody does. And perhaps we need to get back to that. Perhaps instead of in red states forcing the Bible into schools, perhaps just like every fucking day, a Schoolhouse Rock episode until you figure out what these folks are supposed to do. Because Pam Bondi knows that. She also knows that MAGA is really fucking stupid. And she knows that she can just say dumb shit like this and MAGA cheers. We've watched it in the chat all day today. Every time she refuses to ask a question, inevitably there's 3 or 4 dipshits that are like, fuck yeah, Pam Bondi's the best. I love it when our government isn't transparent. And that is a pathetic fucking position to take. And for the record, I have consistently taken this position when it is a Democrat not answering questions. No matter how invalid I think the question might be that a Republican asks a Democrat, I also criticize them when they refuse to answer the question. And we should all do that regardless of party. If you find yourself cheering for a member of the government refusing to answer a question, you are a cucky little bitch who's playing team sports, and you shouldn't be involved in this discussion anymore. You should find a door or find a chair in the corner, and while the adults sit here and talk about real things, you can sit there and masturbate to a photo of Donald Trump if you'd like. But you shouldn't be involved in these discussions until you are a person who doesn't want the government to lie right to your face.
And she is embarrassing
Shame
you.
on you.
The time of the gentleman has expired. I would remind the
This tough one for me, Facts says Vermont is real and Andy Biggs is a cuck. Yeah, 1 for 2. I believe the second part. I'm still up in the. I'm just kidding. I can't. I hate. It's tough for me to criticize Vermont because I love doing it to piss off Facts or just to bother him. But I also love Bernie Sanders, so it's kind of hard. But I have this theory that Bernie Sanders is the only person that actually lives in Vermont, and Vermont is just Bernie Sanders' house.
committee that last Congress, Secretary Mayorkas was here numerous times, and he wouldn't answer our questions, even when we sent them to him ahead of time in writing.
Great. So that's wrong. If Mayorkas didn't answer your questions, he should have. And so you should hold the same standard for Bondi instead of being a pathetic, sniveling, little bitch Jim Jordan. How many more hours must we waste as American citizens watching pathetic fucks like Jim Jordan go, well, they didn't do it, so now I'm not going to do it. Well, if they don't play by the rules, I'm not going to play by the rules. I'm not going to force anybody to answer a question because one time somebody I didn't like. How many more fucking years do we have to deal with this? I don't understand how it's not a unifying cause for every fucking American to look at our government and just honestly admit it doesn't function. It doesn't fucking function. And it doesn't fucking function because all these people just want clicks. They all think they're superstars. Every single person in government that has a podcast should end it tomorrow. No more fucking podcasts. No more fucking money. No more fucking donors. If we didn't have money in politics, then Pam Bondi wouldn't be able to dodge questions by going, how much money did you get from Reid Hoffman? We all know what the fucking problem is. Get money out of politics. And if you support a politician who doesn't advocate for that, maybe reconsider what the fuck you're doing. There are exactly 2 issues that could fix almost all of our problems in America. Number 1, money out of politics. End Citizens United tomorrow. Everybody here agrees with that. Have you ever noticed that every fucking person, there's not one of you who thinks that we should have money in politics. I did this with MAGA the other day in the chat. You all believe that, and yet you continue to support people who are making, by the way, the Republicans are currently passing bills that make it easier for rich people to put money into politics. They're trying to get rid of all the structures in place. And this was in Project 2025. Part of Project 2025 is, hey, we need to remove the barriers for these rich oligarchs controlling our elections and controlling our politicians. They need to be able to give us as much money as they want to. You all are against that, but they have you convinced that, no, that's actually not that important. We need to focus on other shit. Do that and do universal health care, and like 50% of our problems go away. And then we can work on the other shit.
So that's what we've had to deal with. I think the Attorney General is doing just fine. We have votes shortly. I will go to the gentleman from Virginia, and then we will take a break to head to the floor.
I thank the chairman.
We're going to have a long
General.
break. Are they back? Looks like they're not back yet. All right. I'm going to look here. Streamer, you're still going to vote Democrats, even though Democrats are the ones that keep trying to create new tax bills. I'm in favor of increasing taxes. So, of course, I'm in favor of raising taxes on wealthy people. So, of course, I would vote for a Democrat who says that the 1% should pay more in taxes. Yeah, of course I would. Why in the fuck would I vote for billionaires to get more of our money? It's not helping us. Why are you voting? Why, like, I don't even understand why you think that's like a diss. I don't vote for people who want to raise taxes on middle-class people unless it's a tax to pay for healthcare. In which case, that tax for healthcare replaces a bill that they have, and they would pay less to have that. There's a tweet I saw. I wish I would have saved it, but and I've seen it many times. But it was somebody, I believe, in Denmark. And they just said, like, Americans, like, this is the problem with Americans, is you just don't understand basic economics. Yes, we pay far more in taxes than you do, but then our bills are paid. So we still have money left over. Like, you're paying more than us for your health care because you're morally opposed to taxes. Our health care is universal. It's better. We have better outcomes. And we pay less than you. And the reason we pay less is because we have agreed to collectively bargain. Republicans, you hate big pharma. We all hate big pharma. We all agree on that. You know how you get rid of big pharma? You collectively bargain. You all put us together on one insurance plan, and then collectively we can tell big pharma to fuck all the way off. Fuck all the way off. You can't lobby members of Congress anymore. You can't write bills anymore. You negotiate with us. So when you develop a drug and that drug comes out, you don't get to mark it up by 9,000%. You have a specific amount that you can mark it up by. That's why all these other countries have lower prescription drug costs than we do. Because they have laws in place, because they collectively bargain, that allows them to keep their prices lower. And it's been funny watching Trump like acknowledge that this is a problem and point to these other countries and like, it's not fair. Our pharmaceutical companies don't charge them more. Why do they charge us more? Because private health insurance is how we do things in this country. And the private health insurers don't give a fuck if big pharma, like, they're in it together. They raise the prices together. If big pharma raises their price, then the health insurance companies raise their prices. And every time they raise their price by $1 because they have built-in margins, just for an example, if big pharma raises their prices and they raise them by 20%, health insurance companies are going to raise their prices by 20%. It's going to go along together. I mean, it's not that simple, but like basically that's how they do it. They rise those prices together. But big pharma and the health insurance companies have a built-in percentage of what they want to make. Specifically the health insurance companies. If they want to say like our profit margin needs to be 5%. Well, 5% of 20 billion versus 5% of 30 billion. They obviously would rather have 5% of 30 billion, right? So did they give a fuck if the pharmaceutical companies raise their prices? No, because it benefits them. Then they bring in more money, and then they get to go to their shareholders every year and be like, look at us, we're doing great. Stock price is up, earnings are up, and look, our earnings are up. We were having record profits. And then people are like, well, I better, I might not be able to afford my health care, but maybe I'll invest in this in this health insurance company, and I'll make my money back that way by investing in them. And it's all like a rigged system. So now, like, people are incentivized to then invest in these healthcare companies. And then for some of you that you might have a large portfolio of health insurers included in your stocks, you want to see their profits go up. So you're rooting for big pharma and the health insurance companies. This is basic shit. This is just math. And Republicans, we need you to get out of your ideology of tax bad. It's stupid. Tax not bad. Tax can be good. Tax can be bad. But if you get taxed an extra 4%, let's say let's make it $100,000. Let's say you make $100,000. The average American family is paying about between $15,000 and $20,000 a year now for their health insurance. So if you're paying $15,000 to $20,000 a year for your health insurance, you make $100,000. And you got to remove that. You didn't pay that $15,000 to $20,000 anymore. And instead you had a 4% tax. Which one of those numbers is bigger? The private health insurance is way bigger, right? So why don't you want the lower number? Well, because tax is bad. Socialism bad. And they distract you with dumb shit like this, like Angus is saying. Bernie Sanders gets the most money from Big Pharma. He gets $0 from Big Pharma. He gets all of his donations through individuals, and some of those, a lot of them, work for pharmaceutical companies, and they have to write when you make a donation, if any of you have made a political donation, for example, let's say you're in a teachers union. And unions generally, like when they give as a group, a PAC, they will give their money generally to Democrats. Unions do that because Democrats are seen as more favorable to unions. However, if you give the maximum donation as a union member to Donald Trump, it will show up as unions. Does that mean that your union gave money to Donald Trump? No, you did. So when you pull Bernie Sanders' financials and you look at where he's getting, I can actually show you this. Maybe this is a good time to do this while we're on a break. Let's go to Open Secrets. I can show you how this works. Bernie Sanders. Oops. There we go. If you look at the contributors, so he's raised the top industry that's given him money for the last 5 years are retired people, which obviously isn't an industry. But I mean, imagine that. His top donors are people who are retired. But if you go down here and you look at top contributors, Google, Alphabet Inc., you'll see that what they have given him total is $50,000, $50,918. That's the exact amount of money he got from individuals. $0 from PACs. $0 from PACs from Kaiser Permanente, Apple, Amazon, U.S. Postal Service. You can look here, like top by industry. The only one where he got any money in any year is $5,000 once from healthcare PAC. One time. Now, if we just want to do a comparison here, let's use another senator. Let's do Ted Cruz. Let's look at the difference here. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee got $562,000. $10,000 of that was from PACs. Senate Conservatives Fund, $17,000 from PACs. Republican Jewish Coalition, $10,000 from PACs. Herzog Contracting. Do you see the difference here? Top industries. Retired. Good. PACs. 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 There's a significant difference between these people. Oh, I want to go back to Bernie in a second, but let's look at large individual contributions, 47%, small individual contributions, 44%, PACs at 1.48%. Let's go back to Bernie's. 63% are small individual contributions. Only 30% are wealthy people. And he's voting to raise their taxes. So, of course, that number is going to be lower. Look at his PAC contributions, 0.26% total in the last 5 years. They lie to you about Bernie Sanders and all of these people on the left. Let's do Elizabeth Warren. All the people that you hate the most. Oops. Think of all the people that you think are the most corrupt. How about that? Zero PAC money. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Let's look at AOC. Oops. No PAC money. Let's look at Ilhan Omar. $1,000 total PAC money. Who else do you guys hate? I'm trying to remember all the people that you hate. It's mostly women. Rashida, Tlaib. Is that how you spell it? How come all the people that you guys hate the most are the ones that aren't taking PAC money? Now, Jasmine Crockett's a different story. Jasmine Crockett takes PAC money, I believe. Yeah, she takes PAC money. Same with Dan Goldman. Takes a bunch of PAC money. Not quite as much. I've never looked at Raskin. I'm almost certain he takes PAC money. I've said it before, but like this is why I don't like most Democrats. Not as well, quite a bit. Mark Kelly takes a bunch. Tallarico, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure it's not a ton of money that he has ever collected because he was a state. It's vendors. This is a campaign, no vendors. Yeah, we're not going to have much there because he's a state level. But Jayapal. There you go. Let's see what Marjorie Taylor Greene's looks like. Not a ton. Let's look at Thomas Massey. Moskowitz definitely takes PAC money. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is why we like the fear mongering about the people on the far left. Those are the people that are the least bought and paid for. And they are the ones that the right targets all the time and says that they're corrupt, and they're not. So the far left are the most honest people. They're the ones with the least amount of conflicts. And they're the ones that are actually fighting for American people. They're fighting for more affordability. They're fighting to break up monopolies. They're actually the ones that are fighting for you to be able to own your own business, for you to get fair pay, for you to have health care, for you to have things like paid time off. They're the ones that actually fight for the middle class, but they are labeled as radical socialists and communists. And yet, if they're so corrupt, why is it that they are the ones that aren't taking any private money? Wilson, spat, real quick. Define a man. Stop worrying about trans people. Imagine even being that type of human being. Imagine being the human being that's like, yeah, I don't mind corruption. I'm just worried about trans people. I'm worried about what you think about whether or not trans people should exist. Hey, Howdy said, Bernie Sanders is an actual good person who actually wants to help Americans. Plus, he has very good ideas on how to do that. Yeah. I lived in Vermont. My nickname is even Long Trail. That's fair enough. Ryan said, we can see why this administration is trash. They don't own their work and lie and lie and lie. Jamar says, thank you for showing us this in your beautiful commentary. Bondi should be an advantage. She's having a rough day. I hate to use my 1-year milestone on this. Thanks for everything you do, my man. Thanks, Charles. Good to see you. Zen Master said, thanks for doing this. Happy to do it. Kasha said, genuinely asking, is there no enforcement like contempt? Not sure if it's spelled correctly for her decorum and outbursts. No, not really. Not a lot you can do. I mean, she's going to do it. Jim Jordan should do a better job, but he doesn't really give a fuck. Check over here. Does anybody know when they're planning on coming back from lunch? Can somebody look that? Jen, can you look up if they have a time of when they're supposed to be back?
Yeah, I'll look for it.
Thank you. Who is worse? What do you mean, who is worse? She needs a few beta blockers. Yeah, they had a vote right now and lunch, but what are they voting on right now? I'll go through some stuff. I had a little bit of an outline today. 11? Jesus, this is going to be a long day. Got that. That was basic. I mean, here's some of the stuff that we've talked about here, but it's important to remember. This is from the Daily Mic Drop. This was Ro Khanna on yesterday.
You had the chance to take a look at.
Hold on. Don't be a liar. Bernie got 1.4 million in pharmacy bucks. Liar. No, he didn't. And whoever that is.
And the gentleman from Colorado.
Shit, are we back?
These unredacted files.
I literally just showed you
Thank you, Mr.
just showed you those numbers. He got 1.4 million in pharmacy people that worked in the pharmaceutical industry, but not from big pharma. So just again, Republicans, you've got to start looking shit up. You can't be this dumb forever. And you're not. That's the thing. Like, you're actually not that dumb. You just want to believe that. Roe doesn't take AIPAC money. All right, we're back. Who's first?
Attorney General Bondi, 6 days ago, you posted online, quote, if you come for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for you, end quote.
Remind me his name again. Who did they say this was? I always forget his name. Neguse. No, Neguse. Neguse. Joe Neguse.
I want to show you just a brief video. It's about 30 seconds, and I'll ask you a couple questions about it.
You guys are disgusting, man. Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't
He's
see
Colorado.
Because you're chasing your pension, right?
Is that right?
Pension. Your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement.
The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah. Fuck that. Yeah.
Attorney General Bondi, that man works for you now, right?
Who was that, Congressman?
The man in that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of
he
Justice.
does. He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with police with the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice. Someone on video yelling, "Kill him," at police officers, right?
Right, but Republicans will also in the same breath, and she will say, like, if you call an ICE officer a member of the Gestapo, that's violence. Real violence is not violence, but words are violence.
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned. You're right. You're right. Pardoned by President Trump for his offense. Pardoned for yelling, "Kill him," at police officers. And yet you expect hardworking police officers across the country to believe that you take law enforcement seriously. You could imagine the reaction of so many folks across the country hearing the chief law enforcement officer of the United States refuse to even condemn what that individual whom you've now hired did. But in any event, let's talk a little bit about some of the other divisions within the Department of Justice and what's happened over the last year. You're familiar with the public integrity section of the DOJ's criminal division. I think it's referred to as PIN. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know which presidential administration under which the PIN was first created?
I can tell you what administration.
Mute JSEX for 5 minutes for misspelling Kamala Harris on purpose. Kamala.
That the weaponization was ended under.
I'll reclaim my time. This wasn't a trick question.
You don't get to
Madam Attorney
reclaim
General.
your time. It
Madam
was,
Attorney General.
because I don't like it.
Mr. Chairman, will you explain to the witness that he does
reclaim.
reclaim his time?
Because I don't answer a question to your satisfaction.
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Attorney.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. If you don't answer it to their satisfaction, they reclaim their time. That's how this always works. You whiny little monster.
General, the time belongs to the gentleman from Colorado.
The president under which PIN was created was Gerald Ford. It was created after Watergate. I'm not asking a question, Madam Attorney General. The administration under which it was created was Gerald Ford. When you first started as the Attorney General of the United States, there were 35 people working in that office. There are now 2 people working in that office because you have gutted it. How many people work for the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team in the criminal division today?
Can I answer the question about PIN?
I've asked you a question. How many?
Come on, MAGA. Come the fuck on. There's no fucking way that, like, you don't see this. Donald Trump has removed all of the enforcement mechanisms for his rich donors so that they can steal from the American people, so they can run Ponzi schemes, so they can run crypto scams. You don't want to know the answer to this question? You don't want to know how much we gutted enforcement so that criminals can just go free? You don't want to know this?
You've asked me a question, but you don't
How
want
many
the answer.
people work
I'm not
for the
gonna answer your
National
questions the way you
Cryptocurrency
want.
Enforcement Team? You won't answer how many
I'll
people?
answer PIN.
You,
Nobody. No, answer this one.
will not be
you know what?
weaponized.
You know what?
What's
Madam
funny
Attorney
about
General,
this?
I'll say to the chairman.
What's funny about
Mr. Chairman,
this?
you know what? The answer is.
I can answer that. What's funny is that everybody here, everybody in the world sees that you're fucking covering up for an administration who is entirely corrupt and criminal, and they are allowing their friends who gave them millions of dollars in an election to get away with crimes. And it's not funny, haha, like good joke. It's funny how pathetic you are, Pam Bondi. That's what's funny. It's one of those like you can laugh or you can cry, and he chose to laugh because you're that fucking pathetic.
And I think I understand why the
about
Attorney General
this?
does not want to answer the question. Because you eliminated the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team last year. So I understand why you don't want to tell the American people who works there.
Yeah, I
no one
understand
works
why
there
you don't want to
anymore,
talk about
Madam
Mohammed
Attorney
Solomon
General.
in
So,
your district.
In any event,
who
I would
murdered people.
Mr. Chairman, will you stop the clock so his time is not wasted by
I've
the
been
witness?
very generous with allowing extra time when we have these little disputes.
understand.
Jackie said, I can't believe this is real life. Yeah.
You got the time, Mr. Goose?
I might as well ask the chairman these questions.
I'd be happy
because
to
what,
answer
what
some
is
of your
fu-
questions.
What's profound, the questions I've
Profound?
asked,
The crime in your
I've
district.
asked, Mr. Chairman, are not trick questions. They're not gotcha questions.
Pam Gator, stay on subject or you'll be muted. You gotta address what's happening here. Stop deflecting to Democrats. Don't be a coward today. We don't need more Republican cowards. We've got plenty of those.
They're actually basic questions about how the Department of Justice functions and the unwillingness of this Attorney General to answer them in good faith. When a member of Congress asks how many people work at the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team and the Attorney General refuses to answer it, it is not a coincidence. It's because she eliminated the team. Why? Because her boss, the President of the United States, is making money hand over fist, $1.4 billion over the course of the last year through cryptocurrency holdings. I think what is happening at the Department of Justice is a disgrace, Mr. Chairman, and I would urge you to gain control of this hearing. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Yeah. I would ask the gentleman, does he agree with the standing up of the Deputy Attorney General?
Do not refer to Bondi as a coward. Pam Bondi is a coward, and you are maybe a bigger coward by running cover for her. You're all cowards. MAGA is, before anything else, like the guiding principle of MAGA is cowardly, cuckoldry bitches. Like that's who all of you are. You wake up every day with the sole purpose of sucking Donald Trump's dick publicly and never admitting fault for anything that you do. You're all cowards, and history will remember you as cowards. And this chat here will be like, this chat will live on. And if your kids or grandkids ever see this years down the road, they'll be like, why the fuck was Grandpa such a cucky little bitch? They will lose all respect for you because you showed up with the most obvious cover-up in the history of our government, while they're refusing to do anything about a deep state cabal of pedophiles and human traffickers. And they'll be like, why the fuck was Grandpa on the internet defending the pedophiles? I thought Grandpa was a good guy. And they're going to realize that Grandpa was a cucky little bitch.
For dealing with fraud. That's something that's happened in this administration. First time. You talked about Penn. That happened with this Justice Department.
We're talking about this committee.
Mr. Chairman, had you answered the question, had the Attorney General answered the question in that way, perhaps this hearing would have some modicum of resembling something that has typically been fairly conventional, an oversight hearing of the Department of Justice.
The gentleman's
That is
time
not
has expired. The gentlelady from Wyoming is recognized for 5 minutes.
Attorney General Bondi, I want to express my gratitude to the President, you and your team for your continued